Chapter 7:15, The Might of the Nine-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. Their effort on Fang Yu was considerable, to say the least. It was all for the information about the ancient relic site obtained from his core formation cave abode. Contained within were opportunities related to core formation. But now that Fang Yu was dead, all their efforts had gone to waste. Not good. Upon seeing this, Lu Changxing knew that the group of robber cultivators was well prepared for his talisman formation. He immediately sacrificed the remaining 7,200 profound truth tactic posts, anchoring the talismans in all directions to form an iron shield. He then activated part of the talisman formation, their magic auras connected, whipping up a fierce storm of fire, sweeping towards the bald man. Second brother, this kid is tricky. Don't give him any chances. The man in a red robe yelled to the bald man. As he spoke, the red dragon-patterned long saber in his hand roared with fiery energy, the brilliance of its flames soaring to the sky, slashing a long dragon made of flames dozens of yards long, turning the flickering darkness below the great formation into a crimson glow, intent on burning all of Lu Changsheng's talismans to ashes. Big brother, I understand. The bald man spoke in a deep voice, his muscles swelling and throbbing, with a glint of gold glistening as he tossed a string of light gold Buddha beads towards the bronze spear in the sky. Following that, holding a black short stick, he charged towards Lu Miaoga like a wrathful King Kong, his aura ferocious. He had instantly recognized that Lu Changsheng's strength and tactics were far superior to Lu Miaoga's, and much more difficult to deal with. Lu Miaoga was currently maneuvering the talisman treasure, unable to fend off others. Attacking her could also distract Lu Changsheng. Sister Miaoga, just use the talisman to protect yourself. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng's sleeves fluttered as more talismans flew out, merging with the talisman formation, whipping up fierce winds and fire to block the bald man. At the same time, he commanded the six-winged golden silkworm to strike at the bald man. Red Sun Fire Dragon Cover. The man in the red robe spewed forth a stream of crimson radiance from his mouth. A small, flame-like red cover appeared, enveloping the man, circling above his head, cloaking his entire body. Then holding the red dragon-patterned long saber, he summoned a series of flame dragons, rushing close to attack Lu Changsheng. He knew that in the face of Lu Changsheng in such a situation, he absolutely could not give him a chance to catch his breath. Otherwise, once he regained his composure, he might have some kind of trump card or reserve tactic. Close combat? Well then, let's see if you can withstand the power of my divine skills. Lu Changsheng watched the man in the red robe charging towards him, then glanced at Lu Miaoga, his expression becoming fierce. He had no intention of dragging out the battle and prepared for a quick and decisive conclusion. 9 treasures Rui Bone, 9-colored tribulation light. With a thunderous sound, it was as though a volcano had erupted or a river had broken its banks within his chest, much like the thunderous roar that resonated with a grand and mysterious aura. From afar, Lu Changsheng appeared like a deity, his mana surging around him, instilling dread in those who watched. The bald man and Lu Miaoga beside couldn't help but glance at Lu Changsheng, unsure of what was happening. The next moment, a tsunami of resplendent 9-colored divine light burst forth from Lu Changsheng's chest, surging and endless. Within the tribulation light, runic symbols undulated like wriggling tadpoles, exuding an aura that could suppress and destroy all forms of magic. What kind of technique is this? The man in the red robe could not recognize the divine skills and felt an ominous palpitation from Lu Changsheng's immeasurably powerful technique. Not daring to be the slightest bit negligent, he pushed his red sun fire dragon cover to its limits, the spiritual light flashing wildly and the aura of fire churning, with a fierce and impressive fire dragon coiling atop the shield. Boom! As the 9-colored tribulation light descended, the dozens of yards-long flame dragons that the man in the red robe had slashed out instantly disintegrated into ashes. Immediately after, the fire dragon coiled around his protective shield let out a mournful cry, dissipating visibly to the naked eye. How is this possible? The man in the red robe's eyes revealed disbelief as he quickly exerted his full strength to drive the red sun fire dragon cover. Countless red spiritual blossoms burst forth, transforming into a series of fire dragons. But no sooner had a fire dragon appeared than it was scattered by the 9-colored light, turned to ash. In merely an instant, the man in the red robe felt his mana being rapidly drained, struggling to maintain his efforts, his face turning pale, his breath ragged. Meanwhile, Lu Changxing stood with an indifferent expression, like a deity presiding over life and death, showing no signs of excessive strain. Humming, the red sun fire dragon cover hovering above his head buzzed continuously, cracks appearing on its surface. How is this possible? How can he, at the initial stage of foundation establishment, have such mana, to wield such a technique? The man in the red robe's face contorted in pain, blood oozing from his 7 orifices, unable to utter a word. If it weren't for the mismatch in Lu Changsheng's mana aura, showing no sign of core formation, he would have believed that the man before him was a false core immortal. He had once encountered a false core immortal whose attacks were nowhere near as domineering. The next moment. Boom! The red sun fire dragon cover, a top-tier spiritual artifact, let out a pitiful wail before bursting apart, shattering into pieces. The 9-colored tribulation light struck the man in the red robe, sending him flying backward, his body crisped and shattered, his flesh a blurry mess. Under the strike, the man in the red robe suffered devastating injuries. Like a mountain, his body smashed into a shop not far away, pulverizing it into rubble, as he spat mouthfuls of fresh blood. Not bad, Lu Changxing muttered to himself, slightly nodding his head. He was quite satisfied with the power of the 9-colored tribulation light, though it was a pity to completely ruin a spiritual artifact. He turned to the 6-winged golden silkworm, his mental spirit drifting slightly. Go. Swoosh. In an instant, the 6-winged golden silkworm released its bloodthirsty evil aura and transformed into a streak of golden light, shooting towards the man in the red robe. At this moment, the man in the red robe attempted to execute his body-refining techniques. Chapter 7:16, The Power of the 9-Colored Tribulation Light, Dual Cultivation Technique. But under the strike of the 9-colored escape light, he felt excruciating pain throughout his body, each part felt as though it was being torn apart cruelly. To say nothing of facing the 6-winged golden silkworm, even facing an energy-refining cultivator, he now found it difficult to fend off, only to see the 6-winged golden silkworm killing its way over. Pfft! His chest was directly penetrated by the golden light, and blood gushed forth. Hiss hiss hiss, seeing the blood, the savage nature of the 6-winged golden silkworm was completely triggered, it frantically tore, gnawed, and sucked the blood. No! The red-robed giant roared in despair, his mouth filled with blood. But at this moment, he was powerless to resist the actions of the 6-winged golden silkworm. He only felt his internal organs being gnawed, blood being drawn, his whole body in unbearable pain, becoming increasingly weak, and his consciousness blurring. Big brother. The bald giant was shocked upon witnessing this scene, eyes filled with disbelief. Having followed the red-robed giant all these years, he was very much aware of his brother's prowess. Skilled in both martial and magical arts at the peak of foundation establishment, among foundation builders he was an unbeatable existence. Even when facing off against false core immortals, he could stand a few exchanges before escaping. But now, he had been so swiftly defeated at the hands of Lu Changxing, a defeat most miserable. At that moment, without hesitation, he decisively took out a talisman to flee for his life. After all, if his cheap big brother couldn't win, not being a match for Lu Changxing, continuing the fight was merely courting death. As for brotherly affection, although there was some, it was not much. You think you can escape? Seeing this, Lu Changxing immediately freed up his hands, forming seals with both hands, and caused 10,809 mysteries true seals to block the bald giant's escape in every direction. At the same time, talismans flew out from his sleeves, connecting in a talisman formation, with wind aiding fire, fierce gales sweeping across, and roaring flames surging. Kill! Lu Miaoge, seeing this, also immediately propelled her bronze spear towards the bald giant. Fellow Daoist, if you are willing to spare me, I have a grand opportunity to offer you. With his escape blocked by the talisman formation, and attacks bearing down on him, the bald giant quickly released several defense talisman, creating walls of golden light to defend against the assaults. Wind Fire Thunder Talisman Array, kill! Lu Changxing had an indifferent expression, turning a deaf ear. Fellow Daoist, this opportunity is an ancient relic site, containing top-tier inheritance, the chance for core formation, even nascent soul opportunities. The bald giant's expression grew uglier as he continued to shout loudly. In the midst of his words, he slapped his storage bag, sacrificing a golden great bell. The bell was dazzling with golden light, resplendent and eye-catching, giving off an indomitable sense of heaviness, enveloping him completely. Nonetheless, he still used his golden prayer beads to smash down on the 9 mysteries' true seals, attempting to break the talisman formation's lockdown. 9 mysteries' true seals, kill. Lu Changsheng was still unmoved. The opportunity for core formation and the top-tier inheritance held no appeal for him. In his system space, he still had a coagulation crystal elixir. As for the chance for a nascent soul, he believed that once he formed his core, he wouldn't need to worry. 7,200 true seals closed off heaven and earth, stabilizing the talisman array, while 3,609 mysteries true seals entered the Great Formation, continually assailing the bald giant. Boom boom boom, ting ting ting, gales swept through, fierce fire surged, thunder rolled, and accompanied by the pitch-black 9 mysteries true seals, they continued to blast against the golden great bell, ringing out with a constant metallic clang. Sister Miaoga, there are robber cultivators outside preparing to flee. You immediately use the Great Formation to stop them, they'll be right there. Just then, Lu Changsheng noticed the commotion at the marketplace's Great Formation diminishing. He knew that the Foundation establishment robber cultivators interfering with the Great Formation sensed something was amiss here and were preparing to flee. Facing such robber cultivators, he naturally aimed to eradicate them utterly, not allowing anyone to escape and become a future threat. Lu Miaoga had talisman treasures, 3rd-rank talismans at her side, and as long as she didn't encounter Foundation establishment cultivators of the caliber of the red-robed giant or the current bald giant, it was generally not an issue. Moreover, Lu Miaoga was in control of the marketplace's Great Formation. Although she couldn't operate the Great Formation's full power like Ling Zixiao, she could still enhance her own strength. Alright, Changsheng, be careful. Lu Miaoga, upon hearing this, did not hesitate, withdrew her bronze spear, transformed into escape light, and flew towards the spot where the formation was broken earlier. Emichim. Lu Changsheng nodded slightly, continuing to watch the bald giant within the talisman formation. At this point, the opponent was like a fish in a jar. Boom boom boom, under the barrage of talisman and the assault of the 9 mysteries true seals, the golden great bell dimmed, cracks began to appear, no longer self-repairing. Surprisingly, though, this golden great bell actually had the ability to self-repair. The cracks that appeared on it were visibly mending at a rate perceptible to the naked eye. Phew. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng fired off another 18 second-rank talismans. With the addition of these 18 second-rank talismans, the power of the entire talisman formation immediately increased, linked with the 9 mysteries true seals, totally fierce and turbulent. Damn it, how does he have so many talismans? Watching Lu Changsheng with so many talismans, the bald giant's face grew uglier and uglier. Although the golden great bell had self-repair ability, it was dependent on his own mana. Under such relentless bombardment, his mana couldn't keep up at all. Fellow Daoist, as long as you are willing to spare my life, I am willing to submit and serve you. The bald giant continued to shout out. Although he was a Foundation establishment great cultivator, having survived in the cultivation world for so long, he knew when to be tough and when to bend. However, Lu Changsheng was still unmoved. While he didn't mind taking on followers, he looked at the person and the situation. Boom boom boom, under the onslaught of the talisman formation, the golden great bell finally began to lose its luster, the cracks no longer healed. Chapter 717, The Might of the 9-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. _4, Explode. Witnessing this scene, Lu Changsheng didn't waste any more time. He formed hand seals and uttered an indifferent syllable, detonating the talisman formation. As the syllable dropped, in an instant, all the talisman's energies fused together, unleashing an extremely violent mana fluctuation. Boom! Subsequently, an earth-shattering explosion roared into being. It brightened the night sky in that moment, making the entire marketplace seem to shake and shimmer, a mushroom cloud rising into the air. This, such terrifying power. Is this the might of a foundation-building great cultivator? This power is simply too frightening. Everyone in the market heard the intense explosion and felt a jolt in their hearts. Lu Changxing watched the fierce and wild mana waves before him, smoothed his sleeves, and dispersed them. Through his divine sense, he could tell that the bald man's presence had been extinguished. The golden great bell that survived the explosion was now a dim, shattered remnant, which made Lu Changxing feel a twinge of regret. From the fight just now, he could tell that the golden great bell was an extremely fine spiritual artifact. What a pity it was now broken beyond repair, reduced to scrap. As for the bald man, he had been reduced to a charred and broken corpse. The face still intact, wore a horrific expression of dying with grievances unappeased. The abilities and resources of these two should provide a good haul, right? Lu Changxing glanced over at the red-robed man who, under the gnawing of the six-winged golden silkworm, had also ceased to breathe, contemplating in his heart. Eat later. Lu Changxing said to the six-winged golden silkworm. Then with a sweep of his hand, he gathered the magic artifacts, spiritual artifacts, and storage bags of the deceased into his possession. After doing so, he sensed the battle energy from Lu Maiage's direction, turned into a streak of light, and shot forth suddenly. At this very moment, by the eastern gate of Red Leaf Valley Market. Boom! 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 Lu Miaoge was engaging in fierce combat with a middle-aged man with a face pale as jade and sinister brows, using her water dragon technique. This middle-aged man, clearly disinclined to fight, defended continuously. He manipulated several array flags to leverage the Red Leaf Valley Market's great formation, trying to break a gap to escape through. So soon. The sinister man's expression changed, turning ugly. He hadn't expected his brothers to be dealt with by Lu Changxing so quickly. He had thought tonight's mission would be a casual affair and hadn't prepared much. Such as breaking a gap in the great formation in advance, ready for an escape. But by the time he realized that something was amiss and his elder brother was being suppressed, it was already too late for escape. Swoosh! Lu Changxing, wielding the true Yang five-element sword, made a fierce slash forward. Fierce and domineering seven luminary sword chi emerged, shooting towards the sinister man. Damn it! The sword chi tore through the air, forcing the sinister man's complexion to change slightly. He formed seals with his hands, and from his fan flickered rays of light that spiraled in the air, materializing into multicolored light barriers in front of him. Pft, pft, pft. The seven luminaries' sword chi was incredibly sharp, successively breaking through the light barriers. The sinister man's face darkened at this scene, and he called out, "Honored cultivators, I am a second-rank array master. If you spare me, I'll be at your service should you ever require my skills, no matter the task." His strength was average, merely at the foundation establishment middle stage. The reason he managed to be brotherly with the red-robed and bald men was due to his skill in formations. After all, for robbers, having an array master was beneficial for exploring ancient ruins, ambushing and killing, or breaking into other spiritual lands. However, both Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge remained silent, continuing their assault on the sinister man. Water Dragon Technique, Kill. Lu Maiage's hands flew through seals, controlling the water dragon as it surged towards the sinister man. The sinister man still relied on his folding fan and activated talismans to fend off their attacks. But against the water dragon and sword chi, he could barely manage a defense. A moment later. Pierce. A sound of piercing the air echoed. The true Yang five-element sword burst forth, transforming into a streak of light that punctured the sinister man's chest. I refuse to accept this. The sinister man immediately grunted, vomiting blood, his face filled with unwillingness. Pft, pft, pft. The sword chi was merciless, erupting forth and instantly slicing the sinister man's body into several pieces, snuffing out his life energy. Everything should be taken care of now, Lu Changxing said, looking toward Lu Miaoge. Unless there are robber cultivators hiding in the marketplace, there shouldn't be any left, Lu Miaoge replied, taking out the array plate and sensing for a moment before she spoke. Tonight, the robber cultivators who caused chaos in the Red Leaf Valley market have all been suppressed. To all affected, Lu Changxing, hereby extend my apologies for any disturbance and inconvenience caused. In 3 days, our Red Leaf Valley market will provide an explanation for tonight's events. Additionally, to ensure everyone's safety, the marketplace will be closed for a few days for an examination to root out any remaining robber cultivators. If anyone has any information, please report it to our enforcement team, and you will be rewarded by the marketplace. Lu Changxing took the array plate from Lu Maiage's hand, injected his mana, and used the formation to spread his voice throughout the entire marketplace. After speaking, Lu Changxing continued, "Enforcement team, come to see me immediately." All suppressed? There were 5 foundation establishment cultivators just now. Lu Mountain Lord is mighty, Lu Ancestor is mighty. Are the Mountain Master of Bai Lake Mountain and his wife really just a few years into their foundation establishment? Their strength is astonishing. This is definitely not the strength of someone who has just achieved foundation establishment. That's right, I've never heard of 2 early-stage foundation establishment cultivators being able to slay 5 foundation establishment cultivators. That talisman formation, and that 9-colored aurora, were simply too amazing. Hearing Lu Changxing's words, the cultivators in the market began to buzz with conversation. For them, tonight was a sleepless night. Although most could only watch the overall battle from afar, such a display of magical combat had a profound impact on them. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. We pay respect to the ancestor. Before long, the law enforcement cultivators of the marketplace arrived. Most of these cultivators were from the Lu family of Jianghu Mountain and the Bai family of Hundredbirds Lake. Only a few were from the Wugong Ridge Jing family and some were recruited loose cultivators. Seeing Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, they were all extremely respectful. Especially the Lu family cultivators of Jianghu Mountain, looking at Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, felt as if they were dreaming. After all, having an ancestor with such combat power and making such a show of force was a cause for immense joy among them. Send someone to clean up and rebuild the commercial street, take stock of all the damaged shops and buildings, and calculate the losses. Then search every part of the marketplace to see if there are any traces of robber cultivators left and determine when these 5 robbers arrived. Lu Changxing commanded the enforcement cultivators with a calm yet distant voice, but for those hearing it, it carried an undeniable authority. As you command. As you command. As you command. The law enforcement cultivators responded in unison, bowing respectfully. As they left, Lu Changxing looked toward Lu Miaoge and spoke telepathically, "Sister Miaoge, regarding tonight's events, we will later say to others that the cultivation technique we practice is a dual cultivation technique. As long as we are together, we can temporarily raise our cultivation level to the middle stage of foundation establishment, and when we join forces, we can even unleash the combat power of the late foundation establishment stage." Lu Changxing made this suggestion. He hadn't revealed too much of his own power that evening. But the combat power he and Lu Miaoge displayed was still somewhat astonishing. 2 individuals only a few years into their foundation establishment, slaying 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators, was hardly a believable story no matter how it was twisted. Therefore, thinking about the Tai Xingxue Ju which he and Lu Miaoge were practicing, he came up with this explanation. After all, belief in the story was discretionary. He was merely providing a plausible rationale. Furthermore, there were no foundation establishment cultivators in the Red Leaf Valley market, as they were all Qi refinement cultivators. Even if there were exceptionally perceptive individuals among them, it was unlikely they could deduce the specific strength from the overall battle situation. "We are indeed practicing a dual cultivation technique," Lu Miaoge responded with a gentle demeanor and a water-like grace, laughing softly. Since the moment Lu Changxing took out the foundation establishment elixir, the 3 foundation establishment spirit objects and the Tai Xingxue Ju, she knew that Lu Changxing had always concealed his skills, harboring many secrets unknown to others. Particularly after cultivating the Tai Xingxue Ju, through the Tai Dao seed, she could faintly sense Lu Changxing's cultivation level, knowing that he was not someone who had just broken through to foundation establishment. She even faintly guessed through the Tai Dao seed and the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture that the sword cultivator in the marketplace of Red Leaf Valley 10 years ago was Lu Changxing. But as Lu Changxing hadn't spoken of it, she wouldn't inquire further, knowing that broadcasting such matters would seem too astonishing. However, this battle had confirmed her suspicion that the sword cultivator from 10 years prior was indeed Lu Changxing. At that time, Lu Changxing had already broken through to Foundation establishment and was capable of slaying a middle-stage Foundation establishment robber cultivator. This added yet another layer of mystery to her husband. Nonetheless, after many years as husband and wife, Lu Changxing's various deeds had left her with no doubt about his intentions, and she knew his secrets were born of necessity. Chapter 718, Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. _1, Sister Miaoga, I'm sorry, I didn't intentionally hide many things from you in the past. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoga with an apologetic expression. He could conceal his combat power from others in the marketplace, but obviously, he couldn't keep it from Lu Miaoga. Through the recent battle, Lu Miaoga should have noticed a lot. However, since both he and Lu Miaoga practiced the Tai Xingxue Ju, Lu Miaoga had long been aware of many things, he just didn't mention them, and she wouldn't have asked. Now, concerning these matters, he naturally wouldn't hide them anymore. It's okay, Changxing. Lu Miaoga said with a gentle smile. She was well aware that Lu Changxing's opportunities far exceeded anyone's imagination. If such news were to be leaked, it would be very dangerous. Thinking about Lu Changxing's situation, where he dared not reveal a hint of his fortune and had to keep it deeply hidden, always treading on thin ice, must have been incredibly hard. With a touch of heartache, she clasped her husband's hand, intertwining her fingers with his. Changxing, these years must have been very tough on you. If there's ever anything in the future that you find hard to keep to yourself, you can talk to me. We're husband and wife. Lu Miaoga said with eyes brimming with warmth and gentleness. All right. Lu Changxing said, holding his wife's delicate hand, with a smile on his face. Then, turning to look at the corpses of the sinister men and the several arranged flags, he said, Sister Miaoga, it seems that our harvest tonight should be quite substantial. It's a pity that a few spiritual artifacts were damaged. Lu Miaoga said somewhat regretfully. Even the cheapest spiritual artifact could be worth several thousand to tens of thousands of spirit stones. In this battle, she saw 2 spiritual artifacts get damaged by Lu Changxing, which pained her. Speaking of spiritual artifacts, Sister Miaoga, you don't have a life-bound spiritual artifact yet. I also forgot about this matter. With tonight's loot, it should be more than enough to craft a few spiritual artifacts for you. Lu Changxing laughed. The Water of Virtue technique, like the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, had its corresponding life-bound spiritual artifacts. However, he had forgotten about Lu Miaoga's life-bound spiritual artifact due to the family affairs. It was only after seeing Lu Miaoga in battle, using only the crossbow and talismans he gave her, that he remembered this matter. He knew that Lu Miaoga didn't have enough spirit stones to buy the materials to craft her life-bound spiritual artifact. I have already started buying the materials to craft the water vase. Lu Miaoga said with a light laugh. The water vase. Lu Changxing nodded and said, the water vase isn't strong in attack, so forge a Tai Chi talisman along with it, so you can have both offense and defense. Good, Lu Miaoga said with a smile, her lips lightly curved. Let's go, it's time to calculate our gains. Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoga with a smile. Soon the two turned into a stream of light and returned to their cavern abode. Sister, Lu Changxing, are you both okay? Lu Miaohuan immediately came forward with concern when she saw them return, examining Lu Changxing from head to toe. Of course, we're okay. Sorry for making you worry, Huan. Lu Changxing said with a gentle smile. Thereafter, he took out various storage artifacts and storage bags and said, Come on, Huan, let's start sorting out the loot. To him, there was nothing more joyful than tallying the spoils after defeating a robber cultivator. Sort out the loot. Seeing that both Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoga were unharmed, and noticing the storage bags and artifacts, Lu Miaohuan became interested. Immediately, the 3 of them began to tally the spoils of this battle. Wow, so many spirit stones. Lu Miaohuan exclaimed in surprise upon opening a storage bag and seeing the spirit stones inside. Lu Changxing glanced at it, his mouth twitching slightly. There were about 3,000 to 5,000 spirit stones inside. However, considering that Lu Miaohuan, although being the young lady of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain and the lady of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, was nevertheless just a minor cultivator in the Qi refinement realm and hadn't seen much of the world, it was normal for her to make a fuss over seeing so many spirit stones. He chuckled and said, "Hee hee, then you're in for a surprise later." "Ah, right, Huan, this talisman treasure has a pretty good power, take it for self-defense." As he spoke, Lu Changxing handed a vermilion bird ring talisman to Lu Miaohuan. He basically had no use for talisman treasures anymore. Plus, he already had a talisman treasure by his side, so he had no use for this vermilion bird ring talisman. A talisman treasure. Lu Miaohuan's eyes shone upon hearing this, and she looked at the reddish-yellow talisman treasure. It depicted a golden ring surrounded by flame patterns, emitting a mysterious and formidable aura. Although she had never seen a talisman treasure, she had heard of their great reputation. She knew that it was made by nascent soul immortals from their own magic artifacts, consuming their origin source to craft, and the power was immensely strong, usable even by an energy refinement cultivator. Did you see it just now? This talisman forms a golden ring of fire and can transform into a vermilion bird divine bird, Lu Changxing explained. This is too precious, a talisman treasure can only unleash its full potential in the foundation establishment stage, so maybe sister should have it instead, Lu Miaohuan said, a bit hesitant. Although she wanted it, she knew the talisman treasure was precious, and giving it to her would not make full use of its power, which would be a waste. Huan, just keep it. I have a talisman treasure too, Lu Miaoga said, looking at her considerate sister with a gentle smile. She took out her bronze spear charm and said softly. Then I'll accept it, thank you, husband. Lu Miaohuan said, visibly happy as she accepted the talisman treasure and kissed Lu Changxing to show her gratitude. Hee hee. Lu Changxing chuckled at the young lad's reaction and began to inspect several items from a storage bag that appeared to be rare. Transforming dragon ginseng, illusion heart grass, blue spiritual liquid. Changxing, these are auxiliary materials for crafting a foundation building elixir, Lu Miaoga suddenly said, looking at the spiritual medicines. Illusion heart grass? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow upon hearing this. It was the only ingredient he was missing for crafting the foundation establishment elixir, and he didn't expect to find it here. Chapter 719, Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. It seems they were preparing to refine a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Now they're just short of a heavenly spirit fruit and a special monster core of the second rank, Lu Changxing said with a laugh. With this illusion heart grass, he could start refining foundation establishment elixirs when he got back. If we collect a heavenly spirit fruit or a special second rank monster core later, we can directly gather all the ingredients for a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Even if we don't use them ourselves, these few spiritual medicines are also quite valuable. Lu Miaoga said with a smile on her face. Although she was a foundation establishment cultivator and had seen some of the world, she had never had such a bountiful harvest before. The three of them chatted while they sorted through their loot. Red sun melting gold technique, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Cultivating the red sun true fire, melding with 100 refined pure gold, black tiger overpowering body, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Infusing body with essence blood of tiger lineage demon beasts, refining the flesh, capable of demonic transformation. Lu Changxing found 2 jade slips inside a brocade box. He knew these must be the cultivation techniques practiced by the red-robed man. He glanced over briefly, the red sun melting gold technique was quite good. But the black tiger overpowering body was less so. Although the physical body became strong and domineering, far surpassing ordinary body refinement techniques, the process of refining affected one's nature, blending the essence blood of demon beasts into one's body, and caused one's physique to grow increasingly massive. Setting the brocade box aside, Lu Changxing continued to inspect another brocade box. As soon as this box was opened, a burst of intense heat and a fragrant scent invigorated Lu Changsheng's spirit slightly. Is this fire marrow date? Lu Changsheng saw a date-sized item inside the brocade box, resembling a piece of agate on fire. This fire marrow date was an important auxiliary material for refining the coagulation crystal elixir. However, Lu Changsheng's recognition of this fire date wasn't because of the coagulation crystal elixir's ingredients. Instead, this fire marrow date was one of the core formation spiritual objects. Consuming it alone could potentially enhance the effect of cultivating fire attribute techniques during the push to core formation. Fire marrow date, this is a core formation spiritual object, somewhat helpful for breaking through to core formation, and also one of the main auxiliary materials for the coagulation crystal elixir. Lu Miaoge was also excited when she saw the agate date. She said to Lu Changsheng, "Changsheng, you can also start gathering some core formation spiritual objects now and collect the materials for the coagulation crystal elixir." There's no hurry," Lu Changsheng chuckled and replied, "with this fire marrow date, today's expenditure on talismans has been recouped." He and Lu Miaoge had used a total of 5 supreme talismans of the second rank, 9 middle-grade talismans of the second rank, 27 lower-grade talismans of the second rank, and 81 first-grade talismans in their prior battle. Not to mention Lu Miaoge's single strike with her talisman treasure, the total cost was about 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. Yet, just this one fire marrow date was worth 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. It took the better half of an hour for the 3 to clear out the storage bags of the 6 robber cultivators. Inside, there were 319 middle-grade spirit stones and 23,052 lower-grade spirit stones. 3 supreme spiritual artifacts, 2 superior spiritual artifacts, 3 middle-grade spiritual artifacts, 5 lower-grade spiritual artifacts, and 4 supreme magic artifacts. However, 2 of the supreme spiritual artifacts were the divine fire cover and golden bell of the red-robed man and the bald man, respectively. One was severely damaged by the 9 tribulations' divine light, the other was directly battered beyond repair during the chaos of the talisman formation, almost rendered as scrap. The other spiritual artifacts were relatively undamaged, at most having minor wear. Apart from spirit stones, spiritual artifacts, magic artifacts, elixir medicines, talisman, spiritual medicine, cultivation technique inheritances, and a pile of other precious spiritual materials, 1 third-rank purple dragon would particularly surprise Lu Changsheng. This kind of spiritual wood that could be used to make talisman paper was very rare in the usual course of things. Pan Yuan turning technique. Lu Changsheng inspected each jade slip. This was a technique jade slip, admittedly a peripheral sect-level cultivation technique within. However, this cultivation technique, like the Red Phoenix True Scripture he obtained before, could only be cultivated up to the core formation stage. There was nothing further. 2 peripheral sect-level cultivation techniques, both only reaching up to the core formation stage. Is this a coincidence or what? Lu Changsheng frowned slightly, deep in thought. Although it could only be cultivated up to core formation, it was still considered a top-tier technique. Counting this peripheral sect-level technique, Lu Changsheng had garnered 3 exquisite-level techniques in this hall, as well as a second-rank superior talisman path inheritance and the formation path insights from the effeminate man. Changsheng, this seems to be a treasure map related to an ancient relic site, Lu Miaoge, holding an aged and old-fashioned sheepskin scroll drawn on some kind of material, spoke up. A treasure map, an ancient relic site. Lu Miaohuan, present nearby, suddenly piqued in interest at this news, joining her sister to examine the treasure map. Most cultivators in the cultivation world are deeply interested in exploring relic sites, because they all know from what they hear and see that ordinary cultivators must rely on fortuitous encounters. Many explore relic sites for it. It looks like the ancient relic site that the robber cultivator mentioned earlier is this one, but this kind of thing is interesting to look at. There's no need to take it too seriously, Lu Changsheng said with a laugh. He had no interest in treasure maps. In his opinion, the least valuable thing was just this kind of treasure map. While it might sound precious, with chances for core formation or nascent soul opportunities within the relics, no one knew the specific value or how to directly obtain it. Once someone set their heart on treasure hunting, not only was there no guarantee of a reward, but it could also bring a torrent of trouble and danger, and one might just end up losing their life for nothing. So that kind of item, let whoever wants it take it. Lu Miaoga nodded gently in agreement when she heard this. Although she was quite interested in treasure maps, she had no intentions of exploring ancient relics. After examining some miscellaneous items, the three of them estimated that, excluding items like technique inheritances that were hard to value, the total was worth roughly 200,000 spirit stones. Chapter 720, Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. After estimating the number of spirit stones, both Lu Miaohuan and Lu Miaoga felt a bit dizzy. Even when tallying up, they already had a rough idea that this haul was incredibly rich. But they never imagined it would be worth so much. You see, the total annual income of the entire Qingzhou mountain is only 20 to 30,000 spirit stones. If you subtract the tribute, family expenses and so on, the amount of spirit stones saved each year is barely a few thousand. And now, slaying a group of robber cultivators has directly yielded 200,000 spirit stones, leaving the two ladies at a loss for words. Lu Changsheng, on the other hand, was relatively calm about this. In his view, the value of these robber cultivators didn't even match their fighting power. But robber cultivators make money quickly and spend it just as fast, so having this much wealth was already quite good. No wonder so many cultivators become robber cultivators, they are just too rich. Lu Miaohuan said aloud, somewhat touched. She came to understand deeply why so many cultivators were willing to risk doing such things. Huan, don't even think about that. If you need spirit stones, just tell your husband. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly, speaking to his delicate wife in a warm voice. He knew that so many spirit stones would cause a certain shock to his wife. However, in his view, as his wife, she should indeed broaden her horizons and increase her knowledge. Where would I think about such things? It just feels like I'm dreaming. Lu Miaohuan chided Lu Changxing with a glance. Sister Miaoga, keep these spirit stones. Forge your life-bound spiritual artifact as soon as possible, and don't be afraid to spend money. If it's not enough, continue to tell me. Huan, keep these spirit stones and spend more time on your cultivation. Lu Changxing gave Lu Miaoga 30,000 spirit stones and Lu Miaohuan 5,000. All right, Lu Miaoga responded with a gentle and warm expression. Lu Miaohuan, with a face full of happiness, said, thank you, husband. Let me see Wanhuan's sincerity. Lu Changxing looked at the delicate wife before him, drew her slender waist into his arms, and then captured her plump, luscious, dewy red lips. The familiar foray made Lu Miaohuan's body tremble slightly, and she hummed softly through her delicate nose. However, she didn't resist Lu Changsheng's actions at all, her slender and beautiful arms wrapped around his neck, responding gently. Their breaths intertwined, and the sweet fragrance filled the space between them. Sister Miaoga. A moment later, as their lips parted, Lu Changxing called out to Lu Miaoga. Lu Miaoga pouted slightly, her cheeks blushing like the dawn, criticizing in her heart that this bad man was expecting something from her and her sister. But having just been through a battle, she thought to indulge Lu Changxing this time, softly giving an in response. Soon after, a sense of spring filled the air within the cave dwelling. Dawn was just breaking. Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and Patriarch Sheng, after receiving a message from Lu Changxing, hastened to the Red Leaf Valley Market. The elder ancestor of the Su family, Su Renguang, also came along with Patriarch Sheng. When they arrived at the marketplace and briefly understood the situation from the previous night from their own juniors, all wore faces of utter confusion. 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators causing trouble in the marketplace? All subdued by Changsheng and Sister Miaoga. The battle, it didn't even last a quarter of an hour. The talisman formation, a beam of divine light, beyond astonishing. And 2 talisman treasures appeared. Among these 5 robber cultivators, there was at least one in the middle stage, even late stage of Foundation establishment. The 4 were all in disbelief upon hearing this news, but with their own juniors' emphatic claims, they began to half doubt and half believe. Mainly because such an event was too shocking, too incredible to believe. Although Lu Changxing was known to have impressively slain 3 Foundation establishment cultivators on his own. But 3 Foundation establishment cultivators and 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators are not the same concept at all. Those who become robber cultivators generally do not lack in combat prowess. Moreover, this group of robber cultivators dared to carry out the audacious act of delivering Yuanzhong, with a late-stage Foundation establishment magic aura on the clock, all indicating they were no simpletons. Yet such a group of robber cultivators were easily subdued by Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, which was simply unbelievable to them. Even if Lu Changxing had a talisman formation, there must be a limit to its power, right? Moreover, Lu Changxing had previously used several hundred talismans on the 3 elders of the Yu family. Where would he get so many talismans now? Lu Changxing, although a second-grade talisman master, couldn't just make talismans every day. There were other affairs to attend to, not to mention he was also selling talismans to outsiders. All 4 were puzzled, their faces a picture of bewilderment, as they waited for Lu Changxing to arrive. In a spacious and elegant cave dwelling, wisps of incense rose from the amethyst incense burner, filling the dwelling with a faint, tranquil fragrance, soothing to one's mental spirit. On the jade bed, Lu Changxing was embracing his 2 wives' snowy white bodies, resting. At that moment, he sensed the jade talisman at his side flickering dimly and brightly, lightly twinkling, indicating that Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and others had arrived. Sister Miaoge, it's about time we went over, Lu Changxing said softly, looking towards Lu Miaoge. Lu Miaoge replied with her beautiful eyes lifting softly, shimmering with luster. Huan, you stay home and rest well, Lu Changxing said, looking at the other, Lu Miaohuan, who was as soft as silk, with disheveled hair, lazy and charming. Lu Miaohuan replied lethargically and closed her beautiful eyes again. Immediately after, Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge got dressed and walked out of the cave dwelling. Although he had gone through a major battle the previous night, he showed no hint of weariness and felt fresh and clear-headed. The 2 approached the meeting hall of Red Leaf Valley. Upon seeing Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, Patriarch Zheng, and Su Ringguang waiting for him in the Great Hall, Lu Changxing greeted them with a smile, Uncle, Daoist Su, Daoist Bai, Patriarch Zheng. He was dressed in a green robe, handsome and refined, with an air of transcendence, like a noble orchid or a tall and upright tree, serene and detached. Beside him, Lu Miaoge was in a snow-white dress, her face pretty and fresh, her aura as gentle as water. As the 2 walked shoulder to shoulder into the hall, they looked like a perfect couple. All 4 gazing at this couple, who seemed like celestial beings, were somewhat dazed, finding it hard to believe that just last night, the 2 had subdued 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators. Chapter 721, Yun Wanshang. If I had brought him back to the Qingyun sect at that time _1, Changxing, Miaoge, you've arrived, please, take a seat. Lu Yuanzhong rose to his feet, a broad smile on his face as he beckoned the 2 to sit down. Although he was immensely shocked by Lu Changxing's and Lu Miaoge's martial prowess, his heart was filled with even greater joy. After all, Bai Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain, despite being 2 separate families, were related in their own way. About last night's incident with the robber cultivators, you all must be clear on it by now, right? Once Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge were seated, they asked. The events of the night before didn't need to be further explained, as the offspring from the 4 houses in the marketplace, loose cultivators, and other forces would send word back to their families. We've heard bits and pieces. I've heard that last night there were 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators causing trouble. Mountain Lord Lu, are these the same robber cultivators who delivered us the bell previously? Lu Daoist, the bell that the robber cultivators sent earlier contained the mana of the late Foundation establishment stage. What was the power level of these robber cultivators? All 4 nodded and spoke up. Last night a total of 6 robber cultivators caused trouble, 5 Foundation establishment cultivators and 1 at the peak of Qi refinement. Among them were 2 in the late Foundation establishment stage. Lu Changxing disclosed without holding back. SSSSS. What? A great cultivator at the late Foundation establishment stage. There were actually 2 late Foundation establishment stage robber cultivators last night. This. Hearing this, all 4 faces showed shock, their hearts stirring like tumultuous waves. From the accounts of their descendants, and the incident with the bell delivery, they had vaguely guessed there might be a great cultivator among the robber cultivators active last night. But they had never imagined there would be not just 1, but 2. Keep in mind that among these people, the highest cultivation level belonged to Su Ringguang, who was only at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. A great cultivator at the late stage of Foundation establishment didn't need to mention their status in Red Leaf Valley. Even looking across the entire Qingyun region, they were considered to have profound cultivation levels. That's because aside from the beast-taming Su family, a noble lineage, and a few families with false core masters, late-stage Foundation establishment occupied the first rung on the ladder of power. However, Lu Changsheng just announced that among the 5 troublemaking robber cultivators last night, 2 were in the late stage of Foundation establishment. Moreover, both late-stage Foundation establishment robber cultivators and the 3 Foundation establishment cultivators were all slain by him and Lu Miaoge. This. It was simply too astonishing. All 4 looked at Lu Changsheng with shocked faces, hardly knowing what to say. You must be curious about how Miaoge and I subdued the robber cultivators, aren't you? Seeing their expressions, Lu Changsheng smiled wryly. For him, such martial feats were hardly worth mentioning. But for Qingzhou Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and even Yushui's Su family, it was indeed quite astonishing. Not to hide from Lu Daoist, Su is indeed somewhat curious. However, if it involves any of Lu Daoist's secrets, there's no need to disclose them. That's right. Senior Su is correct. The 4 now felt a subconscious reverence towards Lu Changsheng. Putting aside whether there were actually 2 late-stage Foundation establishment robber cultivators among the 5. The mere fact that Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge defeated 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators was enough to command their awe. After all, in the cultivation world, the accomplished lead the way, and cultivation level speaks above all. It's not such a big secret, plus, after last night's incident, I'm afraid it wouldn't stay hidden for long even if Lu wished to conceal it, Lu Changsheng said with a wry smile. I once obtained a talisman formation technique and also a dual cultivation technique. The technique my wife and I cultivate is precisely this dual cultivation technique, not only making our cultivation more efficient by half, but when we are together, our combat strength is unmatched, capable of overcoming those at higher stages. Last night we relied on a secret technique from this cultivation manual to temporarily boost our power to the middle stage of Foundation establishment. Then catching those 5 robber cultivators off guard due to their arrogance, we used a combined strike secret technique, surprising them and ultimately subdued them with the help of talisman formation and talisman treasures, Lu Changsheng said while holding Lu Miaoge's hand. What happened last night was bound to spread far and wide. Telling these 4 was akin to giving an advanced explanation to the outside world. Dual cultivation technique. Temporarily boosting to the middle stage of Foundation establishment. So that's how it was. Those robber cultivators were so rampant, they deserved their fate. We owe a great debt to Mountain Lord Lu and Lady Lu this time. The consequences could have been unimaginable otherwise. Upon hearing this, they all nodded in agreement. Although the reasoning seemed slightly far-fetched. Aside from that, they truly couldn't think of any other explanation. Moreover, in the cultivation world, those capable of fighting beyond their own level, aside from the favored children of the heavens and true inheritors of the immortal sex, were indeed users of such dual cultivation techniques. Lu Changsheng had already demonstrated the power to defeat 3 great Foundation establishment masters with his talisman formation prowess. Now with this dual cultivation technique, talisman treasures, and talisman formations, the explanation was barely plausible. I've heard that the 2 city rulers of the Great Dream Immortal City cultivate such dual cultivation techniques. To think that the 2 of you Daoists have also cultivated such a technique, it is indeed a profound bond of love, enviable to all, Su Ringguang said somewhat emotionally. Techniques as formidable as dual cultivation techniques usually have very stringent cultivation requirements. For instance, they may require an intuitive understanding between partners, a perfect matching of minds, or specific constitution types. Yet Lu Changxing, known for having numerous wives and children, managed to practice such a technique with his wife, causing Su much reflection. But learning that Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge practiced such a technique, possessing the battle prowess of the late foundation establishment stage, starting today, not only for his Yushui Su family but even the beast-taming Su family, they would have to reconsider their stance towards Bai Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain. For the couple had only broken through to the foundation establishment a few years back and already boasted such power. What if the two both advanced to the middle or late stages of foundation establishment? Their combat capability was unfathomable. There could well be foundation establishment cultivators on par with false core or even core formation. The city rulers of the Great Dream Immortal City also practiced dual cultivation techniques? Chapter 722, Yun Wanshang. If I had brought him back to the Qingyun sect at that time, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised as he said. He was naturally aware of Great Dream Immortal City, one of the 3 great immortal cities in Jianghu country. However, compared to Zhoushiao Immortal City and Azure Phoenix Immortal City, Great Dream Immortal City was somewhat lacking and much more low profile. Located in the northern reaches of Jianghu country, set within Great Dream Marsh, it was not only remote but also had a much harsher environment. It was nowhere near the sanctuary for loose cultivators that is Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Moreover, the city lords of Great Dream Immortal City didn't have a reputation as resounding as that of Azure Phoenix Immortal, the number 1 loose cultivator in Jianghu country. Indeed, I've heard about this from the elders as well. The 2 city lords of Great Dream Immortal City are a dual cultivation couple, both in the mid-nascent soul stage, but they cultivate a dual cultivation technique that makes them a match for many cultivators in the core formation late stage. It's precisely because of this that they could establish Great Dream Immortal City. Su Renguang remarked thus. As he spoke, he complimented, perhaps in the future, Lu Mountain Lord and Lady Lu could break through core formation like the 2 city lords of Great Dream, becoming famous throughout Jianghu country. Su Daoist jests, the achievements I have today are already more than I could have hoped for, thanks to fortune and chance. I dare not entertain such lofty aspirations, Lu Changxing said with a wry smile, shaking his head. He didn't continue with the idle chat and instead said with a serious expression, the reason I've summoned you all is to discuss a matter of importance. Although last night's incident with the robber cultivators was contained, it still had a significant impact on the marketplace and requires a plan of action. Moreover, I was thinking we could use this opportunity to hold an auction to slightly increase the fame and foot traffic of our Red Leaf Valley market. Lu Changxing said aloud. As a marketplace established upon a second-rank middle-grade spiritual land, Red Leaf Valley's annual income was noticeably low. Thus, after discussing with Lu Miaoge last night, he thought they could use this chance to boost the reputation and foot traffic of Red Leaf Valley. After all, Red Leaf Valley Marketplace was also a foundation of their family business, and he felt it was necessary to invest effort into it. You can decide on the measures and auction, Changxing, Lu Yuanzhong promptly stated his stance. Nowadays, he increasingly deferred to Lu Changsheng's opinions. After all, Lu Miaoge's foundation establishment was facilitated by Lu Changxing, and his injuries had been treated by both Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge. Even the cultivation technique that now served as the foundation of his Qingzhou mountain was provided by Lu Changxing. In such circumstances, he naturally knew what he should do. Regardless of Lu Changsheng's actions, he would not mistreat Qingzhou mountain. That's right, Lu Daoist, you can make the decisions on this matter, Bai Yunyang also promptly remarked from the side. Seeing that both Qingzhou Mountain and Hundred Birds Lake were of the same opinion, Patriarch Zheng of the Zheng family naturally couldn't object. As for Su Renguang, although he had come here and Wugong Ridge Zheng family was a vassal to his Su family, in such circumstances, he couldn't say much either. In the end, they all deferred to Lu Changxing to make the decision. Lu Changxing paused. As for these matters, he had only discussed a rough idea with Lu Miaoge yesterday and had not yet come up with a detailed plan. He then voiced his preliminary thoughts. Compensate for the damage to the commercial street and implement certain beneficial policies for the entire marketplace, such as entry fees, house rentals, and taxation, among other things. Then, by generating buzz, they would hold an auction in half a year, with the aim of hosting one annually thereafter, to maintain the marketplace's foot traffic and popularity. After hearing this, Lu Yuanzhong, Bai Yunyang, and Su Ringguang all made certain additions based on the foundation laid out. Their experiences in managing and growing their families made them more seasoned in this regard. Regarding the shops in the merchant street that were damaged, compensation would be split according to the four families' ownership stakes in the marketplace. However, considering the heavy toll it took on Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge to suppress the robber cultivators last night, the Bai family and the Zheng family would each take on an extra 10% of the cost. After finalizing the details of the plan and the auction, the matter was brought to a conclusion. As for the specific arrangements and implementation in the marketplace, there was no need for Lu Changsheng to worry further. Several days later, as the defensive formation of Red Leaf Valley Market opened, news about the 5 core formation robbers who made trouble in Red Leaf Valley Market and were suppressed by Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge quickly spread to the neighboring family forces and even throughout the entire Qinyan region. Lu Changsheng of Blue Lake Mountain, who single-handedly suppressed 3 core formation members from the Yu family and established the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family 3 years ago, has now, along with his wife, suppressed 5 core formation robbers. It's terrifying. Is it true? Could it just be Lu Changsheng raising his profile through such means? Right, they are only at the early stage of foundation establishment. How could they possibly kill 5 core formation robbers? Rumor has it that Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge practice a dual cultivation technique in their combat power rivals that of great cultivators in the core formation late stage, and with their combined secret techniques, they can even kill cultivators in the core formation late stage. This previously insignificant son-in-law has grown to such an extent. Talisman formation arts, dual cultivation techniques, apart from false core immortals, it seems that ordinary great cultivators in the core formation late stage would not be a match for this couple, right? The Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain, Lu family of Jianghu Mountain, I always felt that Lu Changsheng had uncommon fortune, already capable of suppressing 3 core formation members from the Yu family using talisman formation arts just after establishing his foundation. To think he possesses such a supreme legacy. It seems the Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain is on the rise. Many surrounding family forces and even loose cultivators were all abuzz with discussions about Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. This incident also reached Qinyan sect. To have wiped out 5 core formation robber cultivators. And among them were even 2 in the core formation late stage, it's hard to believe that, in just a few years, Lu Daoist has grown to such a state. Zhao Qingxing and Han Lin had also received this news and were utterly astounded. They are still in the Qi refinement realm, striving towards foundation establishment. Chapter 723, Yun Wanshang. If I had brought him back to the Qinyan sect at that time, Lu Changsheng, however, had already amassed a record of slaying 8 foundation establishment cultivators, causing his reputation to soar within the Qinyan region. Especially Zhao Qingxing, who thought back to the past few years, her visits to Bai Lake Mountain to provide guidance on spirit plants, and her several encounters with Lu Changsheng. He was always so gentle and refined, with a peaceful and indifferent demeanor that was as refreshing as a spring breeze, engendering fondness. He bore no resemblance to a mighty mountain master with the formidable power to slay 8 foundation-building great cultivators. My brother-in-law is really extraordinary, Zhao Qingxing mused. Xia Zhaoyang, upon hearing news of Lu Changsheng, was also filled with emotion. Although he did not interact much with Lu Changsheng, because of his sister, he had paid a lot of attention and knew quite a lot about him. He was unremarkable in his earlier years, but after his breakthrough to foundation establishment, his rise has been meteoric and astonishing. It's been a while since I visited Xingyue and Yunlu. It would be a good opportunity to share this news with them, Xia Zhaoyang thought, intending to check on how his niece and his niece by marriage were doing. After all, as his brother-in-law had sent them to the Qinyan sect, it was only natural for him to take extra care and pay attention to them. Not to mention clinging to Lu Changsheng's coattails, even without that, he felt it necessary to do so, because of the kindness Lu Changsheng had shown him and his sister. Qinyan sect, Enforcement Hall. Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoge, dual cultivation techniques, slain 5 foundation establishment robber cultivators, including 2 at the foundation establishment late stage. Yun Wanshang looked at the message in the jade slip in her hand. Within the Qingyun sect's jurisdiction, matters involving robber cultivators are handled by the enforcement hall. When the incident involving the robber cultivators being sent to the bell by the 4 major families was reported to the Qingyun sect, she was made aware of it. However, as the Qingyun sect was short-staffed and Xianxia was at by Lake Mountain, she only instructed her subordinates to perform a cursory investigation, not taking it too seriously. She never expected the incident to escalate to such a degree. 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators, and among them, 2 who were at the Foundation establishment late stage. Even though she, as a nascent soul immortal, did not see Foundation establishment as significant, such combat prowess was undeniable and not to be underestimated anywhere. Yet, these robber cultivators were subdued and killed by Lu Changsheng and his wife. Dual cultivation techniques. Yun Wanshan gazed at the message in the jade slip, feeling an inexplicable irritability surge within her. She had gradually let go of her thoughts about Lu Changsheng. But his actions and deeds kept entering her sight, as if to say that she had misjudged him. The once thought to be a futureless Qi refinement youth was actually a shallow water flood dragon. Now, all his actions were like that of a flood dragon entering the sea, a tiger returning to its mountain. If, Yun Wanshan couldn't help thinking, had she taken Lu Changsheng directly back to the Qingyun sect at the beginning, whether he would still have achieved this much. If he had achieved this much under her guidance, and they had become Tao companions with her spirit-nurturing energy, he might even have a chance for a nascent soul future. But the more she thought about her spirit-nurturing energy, the more agitated Yun Wanshan became, feeling an intense sense of frustration. With a bang, her palm struck the jade table in front of her, shattering it into dust. Qingyun sect, a golden and splendid grand hall. Lu Changsheng, cough cough cough, an old crone with white hair and a wrinkled face looked at the information in her hands, her dim and cloudy eyes showing hatred, her hands as gnarled as pine bark trembling slightly. But the more she read about the martial achievements of Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge, the deeper the sense of powerlessness that gripped Lady Meng. Because of the beast calamity in the Wanshou mountain range, she had come out of Xianin cave ahead of time to assist the spirit-taming sect in suppressing the beast tide. Having been tasked with redeeming herself through her contributions, she had been leading the front lines, and as a result, she had been severely injured during the beast tide. Already advanced in years with merely over 30 years of life remaining, this serious injury had caused her condition to drastically deteriorate, cutting her lifespan by nearly half. She blamed all of this on Lu Changsheng. Yet now, seeing his and Lu Miaoge's record of killing 5 Foundation establishment robber cultivators, including 2 at the late stage, she felt powerless. Because she realized that in her current state, she might not even be a match for Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Even if she fought with all her might and could potentially kill the couple, she would suffer a heavy price, possibly even immolation. Alas! A long, forlorn, and powerless sigh echoed in the grand hall. Lady Meng's tightly clenched hands loosened, trembling slightly. Even though she was still capable of fighting, she could not risk everything for revenge. She had a family reliant on her, especially after Meng Yibai's death. To ensure the continuance of her family, she had increased her contributions to its cultivation, eventually producing a promising junior in the past few years. Thus, she had to stay alive as long as possible to stabilize the family. Chapter 724, Su Ruyan, This is My Only Chance in Life. _1 by Lake Mountain. Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Lu Changsheng was recounting the events of the Red Leaf Valley Market to Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia. I didn't expect that the Qi refiner robbery cultivator who fled all those years ago, not only made a breakthrough in Foundation establishment but also brought along 4 Foundation establishment robbery cultivators within 10 years, said Ling Zixiao, drinking the spiritual wine brewed by Lu Changsheng, somewhat emotional. 5 Foundation establishment robbery cultivators, 2 of which were at the late stage of Foundation establishment, this level of power, let alone in a small place like the Red Leaf Valley Market, even in the Zhouxiao Immortal City, could not be underestimated. In her opinion, this group of robbery cultivators was exceptionally unlucky to have run into Lu Changsheng. Had it not been for Lu Changsheng, perhaps both the Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 major families would have fallen into the hands of these robbery cultivators. Compared to Ling Zixiao's calm and indifference, Xiaoxia was more surprised. She knew that Lu Changxing had many cards up his sleeve, but she had never imagined that Lu Changsheng's combat prowess could be so astonishing. Yet when she thought about the third-rank talisman, her daughter's pet beast, the Mount Summer Tree King, the spiritual Eye Spring, and so on, she felt somewhat relieved. Indeed, this person must have had quite the fortuitous encounter. In his hands, he not only obtained a talisman treasure but also acquired a peripheral sect-level cultivation method and an ancient treasure map from an ancient relic site. Lu Changxing said with a laugh, not hiding anything from the two women. A peripheral sect-level cultivation method, treasure map? An ancient relic site? Ling Zixiao was somewhat surprised to hear this. Both a peripheral sect-level cultivation method and chances related to such ancient relic sites are exceedingly rare. Having such items indicated that the man had definitely experienced extraordinary adventures and gained great opportunities. Zixiao, if you're interested, have a look, said Lu Changxing, taking out the Pan-Yuan turning technique and the treasure map for the two women to examine. The two women felt a warm current flow in their hearts as they saw Lu Changxing sharing such rare treasures with them so openly. After examining the cultivation method, Xiaoxia commented, "This cultivation method is suitable for cultivators with earth attribute spiritual roots. It integrates body refinement and is steady and solid, helping to overcome bottlenecks, ranking it as a top-tier method. The only issue is that the method is incomplete, allowing cultivation only up to the core formation stage. Yes, it's already considered a top-tier method. It would be excellent if someone within the family could comprehend and cultivate it," Lu Changxing added. He would place these newly acquired cultivation techniques in his family's sutra pavilion, so his children could choose what to cultivate based on their comprehension and spiritual root attributes. If any prodigies emerged, he, as their father, would personally teach them systematic cultivation methods. "Husband, this treasure map seems to indicate a relic located within the Myriad Beasts mountain range," said Ling Zixiao, scrutinizing the treasure map. "The Myriad Beasts mountain range?" Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose. He had only glanced at the treasure map briefly upon obtaining it and hadn't looked at it in detail. "I'm not particularly interested in this stuff. I'm planning to auction off this treasure map at the market's auction event. I'm sure it will fetch a good price," Lu Changxing said with a smile. He felt indifferent towards such treasure maps and ancient relic sites, so he planned to sell them for money. In the cultivation world, many cultivators are interested in these kinds of relic sites, and some cultivators even specialize in buying information related to such relics and dungeons, exploring them one by one. "Husband, if you plan to auction it at the Red Leaf Valley Market, getting a good price might be a bit difficult," Ling Zixiao said with a light laugh. She meant that most cultivators in the area were at the early or middle stage of foundation establishment, with fewer loose cultivators. In such a scenario, few people would be willing to spend a lot of money. Additionally, items like treasure maps are typically sold once off, that is, after the auction. They are not easy to sell for a high price. "We'll see about that when the time comes," Lu Changxing said casually. He was quite laid back about the matter, feeling that as long as it could be sold for a good price, it was fine. Ling Zixiao didn't say more and picked up the Pan-Yuan turning technique to start reading. Seeing this, Lu Changxing suddenly remembered that the cultivation technique Ling Zixiao was practicing was an exquisite level technique. Now that her meridians and dantian were gradually healing, she could probably attempt to cultivate in another 3 to 5 years. Although an exquisite level technique was already decent, if his family could afford it, of course, he wanted to provide Ling Zixiao with a more advanced technique. Lu Changxing considered his current cultivation methods but wasn't sure which one might be suitable for her. Methods like the 7 luminaries and 100 refinements were okay, but not exactly fitting. The yin-yang harmony technique and 99 mystical talisman scripture were clearly unsuitable. The Black Dragon Codex was decent, but Lu Changxing had his reservations. As for the Tai Xing Ju, this technique could only be cultivated one-on-one, and since he and Lu Miaoge were already practicing it, Ling Zixiao naturally couldn't cultivate it. "Let's wait and see, or maybe ask Zixiao herself later on," Lu Changxing pondered internally, deciding to see if he could later acquire a technique suitable for Ling Zixiao. "Husband, what's on your mind?" Ling Zixiao, noticing Lu Changxing gazing at her while seemingly lost in thought, asked softly. Nothing much. I also acquired a second-rank formation path inheritance and insights from that robbery cultivator. Have a look and see if it's useful, Lu Changxing replied nonchalantly, producing the inheritance he had taken from the effeminate man. Although Ling Zixiao was already a second-rank array master, as both a talisman master, an alchemist, a puppet master, a wine master, and a spiritual slaughterer, he clearly knew that each skill was incredibly complex. Unless one had help like himself, it was impossible for inheritances or individuals to cover everything. A second-rank formation path inheritance, insights information? Ling Zixiao's face showed a touch of delight as she received the 2 jade slips. Shiyu, come, take a look at these spiritual artifacts and see if there's anything you like. Chapter 725, Su Ruyan, this is my only chance in life. At this moment, Lu Changxing took out several spiritual artifacts and said to Xianxia, when it comes to giving gifts, naturally one should not favor one over another. I already have 2 spiritual artifacts, I won't need these. Xianxia glanced over them and revealed a slight smile, whispering, agreed. Lu Changxing did not insist, knowing that Xianxia was not one to stand on ceremony. He continued, Zi Xiao, Shiyu, I plan to enter seclusion for a few days in the coming days. Should there be any matters at home or in the Red Leaf Valley market, they'll trouble you to take care of them. Having said this, Lu Changxing was ready to retreat and engage in alchemy. All right, my lord, please rest assured. Ling Zixiao said with a faint smile. If there are any issues at the market, I will go over. Xianxia nodded gently. Good, I'll leave it to you then. Lu Changxing said with a smile. After spending 3 days with his wives at home, Lu Changxing went to the alchemy room and began his seclusion to practice alchemy. Although he had mastered level 2 alchemy, he had yet to prepare foundation establishment elixirs. To be on the safe side and in case any issues arose during alchemy, Lu Changxing also decided to refine a few batches of spirit-nurturing elixirs and wisdom-opening elixirs to get a feel for it. Moreover, after a while, Su Renguang would be delivering 10 green-horned fish and inked jade serpents. He had to refine these 20 demon beasts into Blackwater dragon spirit weapons, so he needed to prepare some nurturing elixir medicines in advance. A month later, the unadorned and spacious alchemy room. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Lu Changxing was fully engrossed, looking at the purple cloud pill furnace in front of him, his hands constantly forming spells to control the earth fire with his fire-controlling technique. After an unknown amount of time, seeing the spiritual mechanism enveloping the inside of the pill furnace and strands of medicinal fragrance spreading out, he immediately sent a series of spells into the pill furnace. He then shouted deeply, performing the opening furnace spell, open. Buzz. The lid of the furnace burst open, rolling steam ascended, and a brilliant glow filled the space. Retrieve. Lu Changxing, seeing the billowing steam, drew the 3 foundation establishment elixirs, radiating with spiritual light, into his palm. The spiritual light on the foundation establishment elixirs gradually faded, revealing 3 lustrous, plump, and warm elixirs with an overflowing medicinal scent. 3 elixirs formed, but only one is a supreme foundation establishment elixir, the other 2 are merely premium foundation establishment elixirs. Indeed, the first attempt at making foundation establishment elixirs is still a few degrees short of perfect. Lu Changxing looked at the patterns on the elixir medicines and exhaled deeply. He knew that producing 3 supreme foundation establishment elixirs was not so easy. Not only did it require exceptional alchemy skills, but the pill furnace and earth fire also had to meet high standards. Nevertheless, 3 elixir medicines with 1 supreme and 2 premium, if word got out, it would astonish many, and countless people would come seeking his alchemy services. However, this is enough. The Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir can increase the probability of successful foundation establishment by more than 30%. By giving this Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir to Qingzhou Mountain, failure should certainly be avoided, right? Lu Changxing murmured to himself, looking at the Foundation Establishment Elixir in his hand. A premium foundation establishment elixir could enhance the odds of a successful foundation establishment by more than 20%, while the supreme one exceeds 30%. The gap may seem small, but this slight difference in medicinal strength could cause the price of the elixir to surge by several folds. Given that Jianghu Mountain could only afford success and not failure, Lu Changxing planned to give the Supreme Foundation Establishment Elixir to Jianghu Mountain. As for Bai Ling's talent, he felt the Foundation Establishment Elixir was just to ensure an extra measure of success. After placing the 3 Foundation Establishment Elixirs into 3 porcelain bottles, Lu Changxing walked out of the alchemy room and headed to the Lu family mansion. Husband, half a month ago, the elder ancestor of the Su family came. Lu Miaoyun, seeing Lu Changxing, immediately showed joy. She informed him that the elder ancestor of the Su family had brought 20 aquatic demon beasts. Since Lu Changxing was in seclusion, she did not disturb him, and directly agreed to the exchange, paying 5,000 spirit stones. Currently, these demon beasts were still in the spiritual pet bag. Good, this was already agreed upon with Patriarch Su, and the price is not an issue, Lu Changxing said warmly. According to the price mentioned by Su Ringguang before, this transaction even rounded up to a whole number, offering a considerable discount. Afterward, Lu Miaoyun expressed that 3 days ago, she had finally made contact with the luminous treasure tree, enabling this precious tree to become her life-bound spiritual plant. Next, she could start refining the luminous treasure tree into her life-bound spiritual root. However, refining a life-bound spiritual root meant once the process began, she could not leave the spirit plant for too long. Therefore, she wanted to take advantage of this time to return to Jianghu Mountain for a while, to spend some time with her grandmother. Yuner, I'll accompany you in a few days, Lu Changxing said tenderly, taking his beloved wife's gentle hand, knowing that once she began practicing the heavenly longevity technique, Lu Miaoyun would not be able to leave by Lake Mountain. It just so happened that he also needed to visit Jianghu Mountain, so he revealed the matter of the Foundation Establishment Elixir. After accompanying his wives and children at home for several days, Lu Changxing set out for Jianghu Mountain with Lu Miaoyun and a few children. Since his son Lu Yun had married and taken 2 concubines, who were now both with child, Lu Changxing allowed him to stay home instead of accompanying them. After all, the son was grown up, there was no need to attend to him as one would a child. Grandmother. Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoyun arrived at the courtyard of the 4th elder. At the time, the 4th elder was instructing a few Lu family disciples on introductory talisman making. Changxing, Miaoyun, Little Rain, you are here. The 4th elder immediately greeted them with a smile. Having taken the lifespan extension pill that Lu Changxing provided, her complexion had greatly improved. Greetings, elder, aunt, and grand auntie. The Lu family disciples, some calling Lu Miaoyun aunt and others, in their teens, calling her grand auntie, looked at Lu Changxing with eyes full of respect, admiration, and reverence. These individuals, each with a semblance of talent for talisman making, could be said to have grown up listening to stories of Lu Changxing. Chapter 726, Su Ruyan, this is my only chance in life. Knowing that Lu Changxing rose step by step from a son-in-law of the Lu family, starting with talisman making, and became the famous Foundation Establishment ancestor known throughout the region. We're all family here, no need for formalities. Lu Changxing, not one for pomp, waved his hand dismissively. He then had Lu Miaoyun accompany the 4th elder for a chat while he taught a class for these disciples of the Lu family. Changxing, I appreciate your hard work. The 4th elder's face was full of smiles upon hearing that Lu Changxing would teach. With his current status and identity, Lu Changxing still showed such respect to his grandmother, which truly moved her beyond measure. Father-in-law, I have something to discuss with you and uncle. The next morning, Lu Changxing sought out Lu Yuanding, then they went to meet Lu Yuanzhong, ready to reveal the matter of the Foundation Establishment Elixir. Afterward, the two made their way to Lu Yuanzhong's cave abode. Hearing that Lu Changxing had something important, Lu Yuanzhong treated the matter with utmost seriousness and asked what it was. Under their gaze, Lu Changxing produced a white jade porcelain vase. Upon opening the vase, a wave of medicinal fragrance filled the air, revealing an elixir with a crystal-clear hue and faintly laced with 3 silver stripes. Is this? Both Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding, seeing the elixir in the porcelain vase, were visibly shaken, their eyes reflecting surprise, shock, and delight. Yes, this is a Foundation Establishment elixir. Lu Changxing said with a smile, seeing their reactions. Changxing, where did you get this Foundation Establishment elixir from? With 3 elixir stripes, this is a Supreme Foundation Establishment elixir. Lu Yuanding and Lu Yuanzhong were immensely shocked. They never expected Lu Changxing to actually possess a Foundation Establishment elixir. Although Lu Miaoge had briefly mentioned the Foundation Establishment of Lu Miaofeng and Lu Muping before, they had indeed not considered the possibility of a Foundation Establishment elixir. Obtained the materials from a robber cultivator and had it refined by someone. Lu Changxing explained. Changxing, you intend to use this Foundation Establishment elixir for. Although they guessed what Lu Changxing implied by showing them the elixir, they still found it somewhat unbelievable. Father-in-law, uncle, as you know, Sister Miaoge and I practice a dual cultivation technique. Together our cultivation pace is much faster. So I was thinking, if there is a new foundation establishment in the family, Sister Miaoge would be able to concentrate on her cultivation. Lu Changxing spoke out. Changxing, Foundation Establishment elixirs are incredibly precious. I'm truly touched that you would offer it, but our family doesn't feel we deserve such a gift. Just name a price, and we will gather the spirit stones as quickly as possible. Lu Yuanzhong took a deep breath and said. He was keenly aware that the closer the two families were, the more important it was to be clear about interests, so as to prevent any rifts from forming. Moreover, accepting someone's generosity could put them under obligation. If they took too much advantage, it would not only lower their family status, but those married to Lu Changxing, like Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, and Lu Miaoyun, would be affected as well. Well, in that case, 20,000 spirit stones. Lu Changxing also did not insist and mentioned a price. The usual price for a genuine Foundation Establishment elixir was 20,000 spirit stones. However, if there was competition at an auction, the price could go up by a bit. And for a Supreme Foundation Establishment elixir, it could even reach 30,000 spirit stones. Lu Changxing's original intention was to give the elixir away. But after chatting with Lu Miaoge, and now that Lu Yuanzhong had brought it up, it turned into a half-gift, half-sale. How could that be fair? A standard Foundation Establishment elixir is worth at least 20,000 spirit stones, and yours is a Supreme Foundation Establishment elixir, worth at least 30,000 spirit stones. Our family cannot let you suffer a loss. Lu Yuanzhong immediately shook his head. Uncle, I'm quite aware of the current situation in the family. Besides, Sister Miaoge contributed greatly in our fight against the robber cultivator. Moreover, there's no rush for the spirit stones. You can owe them for now. Lu Changxing spoke with a light-hearted smile. He knew Jianghu Mountain's present circumstances. Unless they sold off family assets, they couldn't possibly produce 20 to 30,000 spirit stones. Changxing, Lu Yuanding looked at his son-in-law, patting his shoulder firmly, his eyes reddening with profound gratitude. Having once served as Patriarch of the Lu family, his affection for the family ran deep, and his wish was to see Jianghu Mountain thrive even more. Now, with Lu Changxing's aid, not only had his daughter, Lu Miaoge, achieved foundation establishment, but his older brother's injury was also healed. Lu Changxing even produced a supremely precious foundation establishment elixir, willing to gift it or sell it to them for a low price, which left him at a loss for words. He felt that the best thing he had ever done in his life was to bring Lu Changxing into the Lu family and to marry his daughter to him. Currently, our children are still young and don't need this foundation establishment elixir. Father-in-law, please accept it. Just be prepared for a bit of effort once someone in the family breaks through foundation establishment. Lu Changxing continued. He had a bit of self-interest in offering the foundation establishment elixir to Jianghu Mountain, hoping Lu Miaoge would be at ease staying at Bai Lake Mountain. Changxing, let's do this. Well, set the price at 30,000 spirit stones, but owe the spirit stones for now. Because currently, our family only has one foundation establishment spirit object, and we still need to procure 2 more suitable ones. Lu Yuanding took a deep breath and stated his decision. With Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge already contributing to the steady rise of Jianghu Mountain, if another member advanced to foundation establishment, the family's future for 100 years would be worry-free and prospering, naturally leading to a significant increase in income. So, paying back these spirit stones later would be much easier. Agreed. Lu Changxing, hearing this, did not persist. If Jianghu Mountain really couldn't make ends meet, he could let Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan provide some guidance later on. Changxing, currently only Miaofeng and Muping have the potential for foundation establishment in our family. Who do you think is suitable? Chapter 727, Su Ruyan, this is my only chance in life. _4 At this time, Lu Yuanzhong spoke up and asked. Although he and Lu Changxing were both at the foundation establishment level, he knew that Lu Changxing was clearly at a higher level than himself. I'm not certain about this either, uncle. You can start by purchasing suitable foundation establishment spirit objects, and then make a decision based on them, Lu Changxing said, mulling over it slightly. Alright, once we've acquired the foundation establishment spirit objects and are ready to plan for the foundation establishment, well, discuss it properly, Lu Yuanzhong nodded. After finishing, he continued, Changxing, you and Miaoge are currently in the limelight, and I feel that rushing the foundation establishment process would not be wise. If another member of our family breaks through to foundation establishment, it might negatively impact you and possibly bring about trouble. It may even cause the other families to hold us in awe, Lu Yuanzhong remarked. We will see about that when the time comes. Lu Changxing felt that there was indeed some truth to that. Big brother, now that we have Changxing and Miaoge holding down the fort, we can send Miaofeng or Mu Ping to Qingyun Market for foundation establishment when the time comes. That way, our family's foundation establishment affairs will not be revealed outwardly for the time being. With him stationed at Qingzhou Mountain and with you overseeing the Red Leaf Valley Market, wouldn't that be adequate? Lu Yuanding, standing nearby, voiced his opinion. Seeing the foundation establishment elixir, he had already envisioned the day when Qingzhou Mountain would have 3 foundation establishment experts in residence. Indeed, this is a feasible plan, Lu Yuanzhong also smiled and nodded in agreement. Watching the two of them discussing matters post-foundation establishment, while nothing was set in stone, Lu Changxing did not know what to say. In this way, the 3 of them settled the matter regarding the foundation establishment elixir. After staying at Qingzhou Mountain for nearly half a month, Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoyan returned to Bai Lake Mountain. In the meantime, Lu Miaoge, having gone to Bai Lake Mountain to treat Ling Zixiao, also made a trip back to Qingzhou Mountain. After learning about the foundation establishment elixir, she too was deeply moved. Yu Shui Su family. Going out to gain experience? No, absolutely not. Su Ringguang was beaming as he watched his precious granddaughter tame the heavenly fire mink. But when he heard Su Ruyan wanted to venture out for training, his eyebrows instantly knitted together, and he decisively refused. After all, how could he bear to let such a precious granddaughter go out for training? What if an accident occurred? Su Ruyan was at the 9th level of Qi refinement, and the family had long prepared the foundation establishment elixir and spirit objects for her. Once Su Ruyan reached the pinnacle of Qi refinement, she could attempt the foundation establishment. Grandfather, I was thinking that after gaining experience, I would come back to break through to foundation establishment. Haven't you always said that we cultivators should be brave and diligent, and only through sufficient trials can we achieve greatness in the future? Su Ruyan, with long fiery red hair and dressed in a luxurious golden red outfit, said in a clear tone. No, you can go out for training, but only after breaking through to foundation establishment. Grandfather can let you go out then, but absolutely not now. Su Ringguang shook his head repeatedly, earnestly advising, Ruyan, you should just cultivate well at home now, and after breaking through to foundation establishment, grandfather will arrange for you to go to the Myriad Beasts mountain range for training. Our main house has a stronghold in the Myriad Beasts mountain range, where our family's youths can train. When that time comes, you can train however you want. When Su Ruyan heard main house, an unfriendly chill suddenly appeared on her exquisitely beautiful face. Ruyan, be obedient, Su Ringguang sighed lightly at the sight of his granddaughter's expression. His son had been crippled by someone else, and as a father, he was naturally filled with rage. But such matters were legitimate in the clan competition, leaving him without recourse. I understand, grandfather, Su Ruyan nodded and did not continue to argue. Returning to her own room, Su Ruyan clenched her fists tightly, muttering to herself, only by making a pact with a heaven-rank demon beast can I form a beastly Dao foundation and avenge my father. Now the heaven-rank demon beast is right before me, my only opportunity in this lifetime. I must not give up, Honglian Elder. Chapter 728, Seat of Law. Xianxia departs. One time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Thanks to the battle at Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga had also made a name for themselves, gaining a bit of fame. So, during this period, quite a few loose cultivators and smaller families came to pledge their loyalty. Regarding this, Lu Changsheng, Ling Zixiao, Lu Miaoga, and Xianxia had a brief discussion. Loose cultivators with a particular skill and a clean family background could be recruited as guest elders to the family. If they didn't have a particular skill, they could sign a servitude contract, a labor agreement. As for vassalage from smaller families, they weren't sought after at all. After all, the current prestige of Blue Lake Mountain was supported entirely by Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoga, and Ling Zixiao. There was no power to expand externally. Such matters had to wait until the family's younger generation reached the energy refinement late stage before they could be sent out to establish a foothold and expand. Besides these two, there were also some female loose cultivators and daughters of small families who voluntarily came to Blue Lake Mountain to serve as slaves or maids, hoping to be noticed by Lu Changsheng and marry into the Lu family. After all, the mountain master of Blue Lake Mountain's actions of taking wives, concubines, and fathering children were also widely known. If favored by the Lu ancestor, for many loose cultivators and daughters of small families, it would be like transforming into a phoenix and soaring above the branches. However, most cultivators also had self-awareness and set their sights on the sons and young masters of the Lu family. Over the years, as Lu family disciples like Lu Xianji, Lu Xing, Lu Yun, Lu Feng took wives and concubines, some of the surrounding families and loose cultivators also heard about it. As long as they married into the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, becoming a wife to a Lu family son, they would enjoy the benefits and treatment due to family disciples. Moreover, the mountain master of Blue Lake Mountain strongly encouraged childbirth. As long as a child was born, there would be rewards. If the child tested positive for a spiritual root, there would be additional rewards. All these benefits and treatments were very tempting to many loose cultivators and smaller families. After all, the current reputation and public opinion about Blue Lake Mountain was quite good. Its ancestor, Lu Changsheng, was known for his loyalty and righteousness, in the prime of his life with astonishing combat power. As long as there were no accidents, the family could be carefree for 100 years. Moreover, marrying into Blue Lake Mountain not only meant enjoying high-rank welfare benefits and receiving cultivation, but their family could also benefit from some unspoken advantages. For example, the Su family, which had married off a daughter to Lu Xianji early on. Now, some smaller families, out of regard for Blue Lake Mountain, tended to treat the Su family with a bit more politeness, and would think twice before taking action against them. Furthermore, not long ago, the Su family obtained some business cooperation through this connection with Blue Lake Mountain. Even though it was just a small business distributing puppets, it was enough to draw envious looks. Alongside these female loose cultivators and marriages, there were also some male loose cultivators and scions of small families who aimed to marry a Lu family daughter and join the Lu family through marriage. Regarding these, Lu Changsheng was well aware, knowing that most saw it as an opportunity for profit. Luring people with benefits, how can one expect true loyalty? However, once they've joined my Lu family, then they'll have no say in the matter. Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly as he listened to Lu Miao's report. When he first established the family rules, he knew that cultivators would come to his family for the benefits, female cultivators marrying into his family would enjoy the benefits of Lu family disciples, male cultivators marrying into the Lu family would also receive Lu family benefits. As for this, Lu Changsheng's attitude was simple. As long as you are honest and contribute sufficiently, you won't be shortchanged. However, if you join his family and harbor other intentions, thinking of taking advantage, he would certainly not be polite. During this time, Lu Changsheng himself was not idle, managing to impregnate 2 concubines within the household. Worth mentioning, in this period, 2 female cultivators volunteered themselves, hoping to become his concubines. One was at the 9th level energy refinement with a 5th grade spiritual root, stating that as long as Lu Changsheng was willing to provide foundation establishment resources, she was willing to serve as his concubine for 20 years and bear 3 children. To this, Lu Changxing told her to get lost. Though the woman had a 5th grade spiritual root, the value of such a spiritual root and cultivation level at White Jade Tower, at most, was 10 to 20,000. He truly didn't understand where she got the confidence to name such a price. Did she believe she had some exquisite treasure to offer? However, another woman called Wan Qing was not bad. 6th level energy refinement, 6th grade spiritual root, and also skilled in a craft called incense making. This woman's request was much simpler. She had wandered the cultivation world for a long time, realizing her prospects were bleak and sought to settle down and live a peaceful life. Having heard that the ancestor of Blue Lake Mountain was incomparably handsome and treated his wives and concubines extremely well, she came with admiration. After a simple background check, Lu Changxing took this woman as a secondary wife. Furthermore, realizing this was a good way to take in concubines, he directly gifted her a high-rank breakthrough elixir so she could break through to the energy refinement late stage. In the future, after she bore 2 children, he would also help her open a fragrance shop. That day, a system notification sound rang out. Congratulations, host, for the birth of 50 offspring from your descendants, awarding 1 lottery chance, 50, finally kind of a windfall, it made me wait quite a while. Lu Changxing, upon hearing the system notification, showed a bit of joy on his face. Ever since he saw that the system granted child money for the 1st and 10th grandchild, but then saw no further grants, he had felt somewhat disheartened. Fortunately, the child money from the system finally came through. Knowing that the achievements in this realm through his children's offspring would be much higher than his own. But this pace is pretty fast. When I was diligent in fathering 50 children, it took me over 7 years. But now, the kids only took 4 years. Lu Changxing remarked. Moreover, the fact that it took only just over 4 years was with few age-appropriate children being married off early. Now, as time passes and more of the children age, more and more are starting to marry, and this snowball will only gather momentum fast. Chapter 729, Seed of Law. Xiaoxia departs. Although there were many children, the aspect of spiritual roots was somewhat disappointing. In the entire generation of grandchildren, so far only 2 children possessed spiritual roots. One of them was recently born to a concubine of his son, Lu Yun. Therefore, in this regard, Lu Changxing knew that they could only rely on those children in the family who had spiritual roots. But not many of these children with spiritual roots were currently married. His sons Lu Pingan, Lu Chuanjin, and his daughters Lu Rui, Lu Xiaoru, all had no plans of marrying yet. Although his elderly father was willing to urge them, the children would definitely agree, but he was not going to force his children to marry and have children just for the sake of sweepstakes. System, draw a lottery. Lu Changxing went to the study and silently chanted in his mind. Instantly, the system lottery wheel appeared. A golden light began to spin along with it. Before long, the golden light stopped on the other category. Ding! Congratulations to the host on obtaining a seed of law, sword-charging bull's might. The reward has been issued to the system space. The host can check it at any time. A pale golden halo of a sword pattern appeared along with the system's notification sound. Seed of law, sword-charging bull's might? What is this? Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon seeing the reward he had drawn. In his many years in the cultivation world, he had never heard of something like a seed of law. Immediately, with a slight movement of his mental spirit, he checked the seed of law in the system. Seed of law, sword-charging bull's might, rank, 4th rank, explanation. When the light of the sun and moon shines, the treasure sword charges at the bull, the recipient's natural sword Dao talent increases, sword chi is sharp and domineering, swallowing the stars, fearless and defiant, with a proud and unyielding spirit, 4th rank. Enhances sword Dao talent, sharp sword chi, swallowing stars? Can this seed of law enhance a person's talent? Lu Changxing was surprised as he looked at the seed of law before him. He knew that in the cultivation world, anything that could improve or enhance someone else's talent was extremely rare. This seed of law before him could enhance sword Dao talent, and with a rank of 4th rank, it was clearly extraordinary. Lu Changsheng's spirit stirred slightly as he extracted the seed of law from the system space to examine its detailed effects. Immediately, a pale golden light, the size of a thumb, appeared before him. About the specific effects of this seed of law, Lu Changxing became instantly aware. This seed of law had the effects of elevating one's talent, enhancing perception, harmonizing one's nature, improving one's cultivation rank, and filling in any deficiencies. After use, not only is the sword Dao talent enhanced, but future cultivation and comprehension of sword Dao techniques would yield twice the result with half the effort. The whole person would also be subtly influenced by the seed of law, gradually becoming proud and unyielding in nature, fearless and courageous, striving with vigor. If one's personality is naturally aligned with the seed of law, it could maximize its effects. From then on, one could make rapid progress on the path of the sword Dao, and the mana and sword chi cultivated would be several times more ferocious than that of ordinary people. How does this seed of law resemble the sword bone among the sword cultivators' constitutions? Lu Changxing thought of the sword bone among the sword cultivators' constitutions as he looked at the effects of the seed of law. In the books he had read, it was written that those born with sword bone would exhibit extraordinary sword Dao talent from the moment they held a sword. When cultivating sword Dao techniques, not only would they progress swiftly, but their power would also surpass that of others. As for temperament, having cultivated the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, Lu Changxing could only say many a sword cultivator were so by nature. Because only with such a temperament could one traverse the sword Dao faster and farther. Who should I give this seed of law to? Lu Changxing looked at the seed of law in his hand, stroking his chin. Although he cultivated the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, he didn't have much interest in this kind of seed of law. One reason was, he had the system's enlightenment, which made any additional sword Dao talent unnecessary for understanding the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. Another reason was that this seed of law would subtly influence someone else's nature. He was very clear about his own temperament and had no desire to change it. Therefore, in his view, the seed of law was definitely meant for his children. After all, if the temperament matched, the effect of the seed of law would be quite remarkable. It was like a small spiritual body. Pingan, Xianji, Rui, Chuanjin, Yuner, Lu Xing. Lu Changxing considered his current children and felt that none were quite suitable. The next moment, he immediately thought of his son Lu Qingshan, who was far away in another country. This son had a Gingjin body constitution, and Lu Changxing had intended to teach him the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. However, due to an accident, he was taken in as a disciple by a nascent soul immortal and brought to the Jianghu sect in Yu country. Although this son was mischievous and undisciplined, Lu Changxing knew that his son was proud and obstinate by nature, with an indomitable spirit in his bones. Overall, he was well suited for this seed of law. I wonder what techniques Qingshan is practicing in the Jianghu sect. Lu Changxing toyed with the seed of law, murmuring to himself. Although his son's spiritual root was metal-leaning and he possessed a Gingjin body constitution, which was suitable for sword techniques, he did not know which cultivation technique his son's nascent soul master was teaching him in the Jianghu sect. He only knew that his son's cultivation progress was indeed very rapid. He had already broken through to the 4th level of energy refinement. At this rate, before he turned 30, Lu Qingshan would certainly be able to break through to foundation establishment. Once Si Xiao has fully recovered from her injuries and has finished setting up the divine with great formation, I will take a trip to the Jianghu sect. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and murmured to himself. He had long promised Lu Miaohuan and Lu Miaoga that he would visit Yu country's Jianghu sect to see his children. If his son Lu Qingshan was practicing sword techniques and his temperament remained the same, then in his view, this seed of law could not be more suitable for Lu Qingshan. Jianghu sect, Tian Yuan Peak. Qingshan, why did you get into a conflict with others? In the grand hall, a voluptuous woman in her 30s, wearing a long red dress, spoke lazily. Chapter 730, Seed of Law. Xiao Xia departs. That bastard dared to bully little Zhu'er, I'm already being lenient by not killing him. Lu Qingshan, dressed in a golden and white magical robe, clenched his fist inside his sleeve as he spoke coldly. You're only at the 4th level energy refinement, and the other party has reached the 6th level. How could you kill him? Tianyuan True Immortal, looking at her disciple with a wine gourd to her red lips, took a sip with apparent nonchalance and said. Because he doesn't dare to kill me. Lu Qingshan, standing tall and straight before the Tianyuan true immortal, spoke assuredly. Oh, and you're not afraid that killing him would bring trouble? Among sects, it's a grave sin to kill a fellow disciple. Yan Yuan rested an elbow on the armrest, her head propped in her hand, her hair cascading down, and her lush, bare legs crossed as she said with interest. Afraid, but if someone dares to bully my sister, as her brother, it's my duty to seek revenge. Lu Qingshan's clenched fist relaxed, and he then said with a smile, Jinyun Peak and our Tianyuan Peak have never gotten along. They are clearly provoking us on purpose. How can you, master, simply stand by and watch? Besides, if I at the Qi refinement 4th level manage to slaughter someone at the 6th level, I'd be bringing honor to our Tianyuan Peak and to you, master. Would you still punish me for that? Lu Qingshan said so. Your temperament really is. Upon hearing this, Yan Yuan cracked a smile, waved her hand, and said, all right, I'll take care of this matter. There are plenty of wild beasts on Tianyuan Peak. If you're hungry, you can hunt on the mountain as practice. If you're really starving and can't find any game, you can ask Xiaobai for help. Yan Yuan said so. Yes, master, Lu Qingshan bowed in response. All right, off you go, or little Zhuer will start worrying again, thinking that I'm blaming you. Yan Yuan shook her head gently and took another sip from her wine gourd. Watching Lu Qingshan leave the hall, she revealed a hint of chill on her otherwise lazy and casually beautiful face. I, Yan Yuan, am often away from the sect and don't manage affairs, but they really think they can bully my Tianyuan Peak so easily. Brother. As soon as Lu Qingshan left the hall, Lu Qingzhu hurried over with concern. Little Zhuer, master was just asking what happened. There's no need to worry. Lu Qingshan looked at his sister, immediately showing a carefree smile and ruffling her head as he said. Brother, don't fight with others next time, does it hurt? Lu Qingzhu looked at Lu Qingshan's somewhat swollen cheek, her eyes red with concern as she spoke softly. It doesn't hurt at all. This time I was a bit off, I couldn't slaughter him. Next time something like this happens, I'll definitely take down that bastard. Lu Qingshan said with an easy grin. It's my fault for being useless, I can't help brother at all, and instead, I'm just a burden. Lu Qingzhu's eyes teared up as she spoke. How could that be? It's a brother's duty to protect his sister. If something similar happens in the future, you must tell me sooner. Don't keep it to yourself, understand? Lu Qingshan said with a gentle smile, lightly flicking Lu Qingzhu's delicate little nose. After spending some time with Lu Qingzhu, and telling the young girl to rest, Lu Qingshan ran to the back mountain and shouted towards the sky, Fairy Crane, Fairy Crane. What is it, boy? Soon after, a majestic and handsome crane, over 10 feet tall with fiery red plumage swooped down from the sky. Look, I was beaten up in a fight today, it hurts like hell. Give me some of your divine saliva. Lu Qingshan pointed to the injuries on his cheek and arm, and spoke up. Go on, trying to trick this fairy into giving you divine saliva again? Nothing doing. Upon hearing this, the crane spread its wings and took off. Yet, just as it took flight, seeing Lu Qingshan's appearance, it still threw down a small porcelain bottle saying, Fine, fine, here's a bottle for you, boy. Hee hee, thanks a lot. Lu Qingshan caught the small porcelain bottle and shouted his thanks to the white crane. Half a month later. By Lake Mountain. Inside the Lu family mansion, the hall of deliberation. This day marked the Lu family's annual family meeting. Lu Changsheng sat in the main seat, listening to reports from his wife and children below. This year, the overall situation for Bai Lake Mountain was still in deficit. However, with the family disciples becoming proficient in their trades, and with an increase in the number of spirit farmers, spirit plant carers, fishermen, and beast tamers, the revenue from the spirit fields and fisheries showed steady improvement. The puppet workshop and wine brewing shop had also started to turn a profit, so the overall deficit wasn't large, amounting to a total loss of 6,892 spirit stones. The reason for a deficit of over 6,000 spirit stones was entirely due to the large expenses and outlay for the Lu family disciples. One reason was that the benefits provided to the Lu family disciples were relatively generous. Additionally, the children in the family were gradually getting married. Like my son Lu Yun, who had already married one and brought in 3. Other sons who wished to marry also could mostly take wives with spiritual roots. In such circumstances, the family's expenses had significantly increased. As for these expenses, Lu Changxing had no objections. After all, as long as his children were willing to marry and have children, he would be happy, even if it meant a little more expense. After briefly summarizing the year, Lu Changxing saw that the family was progressing steadily and felt that in another 2 years, he could choose a few of his children to appoint as the family head and elders. In that way, he would be completely free from worrying about these trivial matters. After the family meeting concluded, it was time for Xianxia to return to Qingyun's sect to report back. She had been assigned to situate it by Lake Mountain for 3 years, and now that the time was up, she must return to Qingyun's sect. 7 days later, Xianxia said farewell to her daughter Lu Wangshu. She expressed that she had to leave and would come to see her whenever she had time. Mother, upon hearing that her mother was leaving, Lu Wangshu's eyes immediately reddened, and she cried out sobbingly. Initially, she and Xianxia were not very close. But over these 3 years, aside from her daily meditation times, Xianxia spent most of her time doting on her daughter, indulging her every whim. So now, hearing that her mother was leaving, Lu Wangshu was extremely sad and reluctant to part. Little Wangshu, don't cry. Mother will come to visit you when I have time. Xianxia, seeing her daughter like this, instantly felt a bit flustered. Her beautiful face was filled with confusion as she comforted her. If little Wangshu misses mother, you can also come to see me anytime. Lu Changxing, watching this scene, crouched down and comforted his daughter in a gentle voice. He had long realized why many cultivators were reluctant to start families and have children. It was still manageable during the qi refinement realm. But when a cultivator reached the foundation establishment stage, they may close off to meditate for several months, or even 1 or 2 years. If they reached the core formation stage, this period could extend to several years, or even decades. This also meant there would be no time to accompany their children. Possibly after one meditation session, the children would have grown up, leading to an indifferent relationship between them. Or, due to the lack of guidance, they might develop a problematic character and bring disaster upon themselves. In the case of Xianxia, spending so much time accompanying her daughter was indeed a hindrance to her cultivation. As for himself, his cultivation was completely casual, wholly reliant on consuming pills and exploiting loopholes. Mother, I will miss you. Lu Wangshu, smart and sensible since childhood, wiped the corner of her eyes and spoke quietly. Mother will miss little Wangshu too. Xianxia pursed her lips and spoke, even harboring a thought to continue staying at by Lake Mountain to accompany her daughter. Sigh. Lu Changxing watched this scene and was tempted to let Xianxia take Lu Wangshu to Qingyun sect. But knowing Xiaoxia's personality, she would dote on the child every day if she took her with her, which might severely hinder her cultivation. Moreover, once Xiaoxia returned to her sect, there would be other duties, and she wouldn't have much time to care for the child. Eventually, after a heartfelt farewell between mother and daughter, Xiaoxia departed. It's okay, Daddy is here. Come on, Daddy will take you fishing. Lu Changxing, looking at his daughter who still had somewhat red eyes, said soothingly. Now that Xiaoxia had left, he, as the father, would naturally spend more time with his daughter, helping her move past her sadness as quickly as possible. Daddy, I want to hear a story. Lu Wangshu looked up with her little head and said. All right. Lu Changxing smiled and said, once upon a time, there was a mountain, on the mountain there was a temple, inside the temple there was in a marketplace. Hong Lian Sr., I have gathered all the materials required to use the secret divine technique. Can I now stealthily enter by Lake Mountain? Su Rin spoke in her mind. By Lake Mountain is merely a second-rank great formation. With my seamless celestial clothes divine technique, sneaking in will not be difficult. However, taking away a heaven-rank demon beast still carries some risk. Are you sure you have thought this through? An ethereal and elegant voice, as gentle as the singing of heaven, echoed in Su Ruian's mind. Hong Lian Sr., I have thought it through. When I started practicing the beast technique, I was ready. Su Ruian, with her delicate and stunning beauty, expressed her determination. Chapter 731, Su Ruian sneaks into By Lake Mountain, Mount Sumerus Divine Light. _1 By Lake Mountain, Alchemy Room. Since Su Ringguang had delivered 20 aquatic demon beasts, all of which had been refined into Blackwater dragon spirit weapons, Lu Changxing had yet another heavy burden added to his daily routine. Every 2 to 3 months, he would need to make a batch of spirit-nurturing elixirs, wisdom-opening elixirs, and ascending dragon elixirs. He felt it was absolutely necessary to hire an imperial alchemist. Otherwise, cultivating Dao soldiers by relying on his own alchemy skills was simply too troublesome. Huff huff huff, dash. At this moment, Lu Changxing was sitting at his desk, holding a third-rank brush in hand, drawing talismans. Due to the demand for talismans by talisman formations, he had always maintained the habit of talisman making. So each time he made elixirs, during his free time, he would draw a few talismans. Lu Wangshu, dressed in a pink and white outfit with 2 buns in her hair, sat squatting next to the alchemy furnace, holding a banana leaf fan that was almost as big as herself, fanning towards the furnace opening. Her delicate, doll-like cheeks reddened by the fiery glow looked exceedingly cute. The sorrow of children comes quickly and leaves just as fast. Additionally, with plenty of playmates of the same age at school, Lu Wangshu quickly moved past the sadness of her mother Xiao Xia's departure. Having heard the day before last that her father Lu Changxing was doing alchemy, she was full of curiosity and wanted to see what alchemy was like. After watching, she claimed that the alchemy masters in the picture books all had fan-bearing children, so she volunteered to be her daddy's fan-bearer to help with the alchemy. Lu Changxing did not refuse his daughter's request. After all, children are playful and interested in new and novel things. Then, Lu Changxing took out a top-grade magic artifact that was impervious to heat and cold from his storage bag and had someone buy a banana leaf fan for her to wave around and play with. Unexpectedly, the little girl actually took to it, and for 3 days straight, she did not tire of it. She would run to the alchemy room after returning from school, and also expressed that she wanted to learn alchemy. Wangshu, are you tired? At this time, Lu Changxing had finished drawing the talisman and looked towards his precious daughter. Under the glow of the red fire, her tender little face was roasted red, and beads of sweat damped the hair on her forehead. Though they had magic artifacts that made them impervious to the cold and heat, without mana to activate them, merely carrying them did not provide real protection against the extremes. After all, this fire wasn't an ordinary flame, but earth vein fire. Daddy, I'm not tired. The little girl heard Lu Changxing's words, immediately stood up and vigorously fanned the earth fire a few times, her voice crisp and clear. Hee, the elixir will take a while. Daddy will teach you how to make talismans. Lu Changxing stood up, came to his daughter's side, caressed her head, and used his mana to dispel the sweat and heat from her forehead. Daddy, drawing talismans is too boring. I think it's not as interesting as alchemy or puppeteering. Lu Wangshu said so. In her school, they taught about formations, alchemy, talisman making, puppeteering, beast taming, spirit plants, and so on. But since she ate elixir medicines like candy on a daily basis and played with puppet toys in the family's playground, she was only interested in those 2 subjects. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing felt a chill in his heart. It would be rather awkward if his daughter had no interest in talisman making. Thinking that youth was the time to cultivate a child's interests and hobbies, and now that his daughter Lu Wangshu was also 8 years old, he should foster her interest in the talisman path. Otherwise, it would be a waste if a talisman path prodigy spent all her time indulging in fishing, and even in alchemy and puppeteering. It simply wouldn't be proper. He took out a stack of spirit talismans and said warmly, "How can drawing talismans be boring? Look at these talismans Daddy drew, they're all very interesting. This talisman can transform into a firebird, this one can whip up a fierce wind, this one can bring down heavenly thunder. Daddy, is there one that can make you fly?" Lu Wangshu, showing some interest upon hearing this, asked out loud. Yes. Lu Changxing immediately responded, "Come, Daddy will draw you a talisman that you can use to fly. Subsequently, father and daughter sat in front of the desk, with Lu Changxing drawing the flying ascension talisman under his daughter's watchful eyes. When Lu Changxing completed the talisman, he slapped it onto his daughter's body and activated it with his mana, saying, "Now, my dear girl, follow your feelings and control this energy, then you'll be able to fly on your own." Lu Wangshu followed his instructions with interest, and immediately found herself floating gently in the air. However, since she hadn't begun cultivation, she couldn't control the power and kept bumping around clumsily. But with the patient guidance of her father, she gradually got the hang of it and enjoyed herself immensely. Afterward, Lu Changxing began drawing all kinds of interesting talismans like unveiling treasures, showing them to his daughter, who played tirelessly with them. After a long playtime, seeing that there was a hint of weariness in his daughter's eyes and brows, Lu Changxing said warmly, "You're a bit tired, aren't you? Daddy will take you back to rest and sleep." "But the elixir isn't finished yet, I want to stay with Daddy." Lu Wangshu, pointing at the alchemy furnace, said somewhat reluctantly. These past several days, she had come with the wish to see the elixir medicines completed. It will still take quite a while before it's done. Looking at the pill furnace, Lu Changxing estimated that it would take another 2 to 3 hours before the pills would be ready. He rubbed his daughter's little head gently and said, "Why don't you go to sleep first, and when the elixirs are ready, Daddy will call you." "No, I don't want to, I want to be with Daddy, carry me to sleep." Lu Wangshu spoke coquettishly. "You're such a big girl now." Lu Changxing laughed doting, pinching his daughter's little nose. But he still picked her up and took her to the bench nearby, saying, "All right, go to sleep." Curling up in Lu Changxing's arms like a little kitten, Lu Wangshu looked up at him with her bright, doe-like eyes, pitifully saying, "Daddy, I still want a sugar bean." "All right, after eating it, you have to sleep soundly." Chapter 732, Su Rian sneaks into by Lake Mountain, Mount Sumerus Divine Light. Lu Changsheng's expression was gentle as he took out a bottle of cultivation nurturing elixir and poured out a pill coated with honey, handing it to his daughter. "Daddy, I am going to sleep, you must remember to call me." The little girl ate the elixir, and immediately a sweet smile blossomed, her eyes turning into crescent shapes. After speaking, she obediently closed her eyes. It wasn't long before the child in his arms began breathing evenly. She was obviously a bit tired just now. Lu Changxing watched his daughter sleeping peacefully in his arms, smiled, and continued crafting symbols. The night was deep and tranquil, with a clear moon and a gentle breeze. A few miles from by Lake Mountain, a shadow flashed by swiftly. Elder Hong Lian. The shadow looked at by Lake Mountain under the moonlight, a quiet expanse, and spoke in his mind. "Take out all the materials, and I will cast the seamless celestial clothes divine technique for you." A clear and ethereal voice rang out. Su Rian immediately took out the prepared spiritual materials from her storage bag. Buzz, all the materials arose into the air, circulating around Su Rian, beginning to melt. They spread like a mist, transforming into a vestment robe that enveloped her entire body. In an instant, Su Rian's presence abruptly drew in, without revealing the slightest aura. Her whole being gradually faded into stealth, without a trace to be seen. "With my seamless celestial clothes divine technique, as long as you are careful and do not make too much commotion, even if by Lake Mountain has a nascent soul immortal stationed, it would be difficult to detect your existence," the voice continued. "However, this seamless celestial clothes divine technique can only last for 3 hours. Within these 3 hours, you must take the heaven-rank demon beast and leave the boundaries of by Lake Mountain." The ethereal voice spoke to Su Rian. "Thank you, Elder Hong Lian." Hearing this, Su Rian clenched her fists, her dark eyes ablaze with intense flames. Then, she flew swiftly towards by Lake Mountain. Before long, she arrived at the outskirts of by Lake Mountain's great formation. Gazing at the hazy and pristine aura of the formation's spiritual light, Su Rian took a deep breath and tentatively reached out her hand. She could sense the profound power of the formation, like an impenetrable wall blocking her path. But at the next moment, a shimmering light enveloped her body, allowing her arm to pass through the by Lake Mountain's great formation as though penetrating water. Truly worthy of Elder Hong Lian, such a technique is astonishing. Seeing this, Su Rian was taken aback and then proceeded to pass through the great formation into Bai Lake Mountain. Phew! Looking at the scenery of Bai Lake Mountain before her, Su Rian exhaled a long breath. Even with Elder Hong Lian's aid, the prospect of infiltrating Bai Lake Mountain, and its second-rank top-notch great formation, still made her nervous. Afterwards, Su Rian closed her eyes and operated the beast technique, sensing the aura of spiritual beasts, and turned her gaze towards Baiyun Peak. Elder Hong Lian, I sense that the heaven-rank demon beast is on the main peak of Bai Lake Mountain. Hong Lian, looking at Baiyun Peak, felt an inexplicable sense of unease from the mountain. Elder Hong Lian, what's wrong? Su Rian noticed something was off with the Hong Lian in her mind. It's nothing, aside from the great formation, there might be other measures on this mountain. Be very careful and act quickly, Hong Lian said solemnly. The seamless celestial clothes has already consumed a lot of power when breaking through the formation just now, so in theory, you have only 1 hour left. Although Hong Lian sensed something amiss about the mountain, she could not simply leave because of it. Because Su Rian's growth was also pivotal to her future. Only by Su Rian contracting with a heaven-ranked demon beast and forming a heavenly beast Dao foundation could she have a considerable chance to break through to the nascent soul and allow herself to be revived. I understand, Elder Hong Lian. Su Rian nodded rapidly and rushed towards Baiyun Peak. She had lived in Bai Lake Mountain for 5 days and had already grasped the general situation here. Moreover, she had simulated the plan for this night countless times in her mind. With the seamless celestial clothes, the patrolling cultivators of Bai Lake Mountain failed to notice Su Rian's presence. Guided by the hint of the heaven-ranked demon beast's aura from the beast technique, Su Rian reached Baiyun Peak at maximum speed. However, as she continued to follow the scent up the mountain after reaching Baiyun Peak, the Mount Summer Tree King on Baiyun Peak rustled its leaves, which were akin to gold and jade. Inside the Mount Summer Cave Heaven, someone has infiltrated? Ling Zixiao, who was resting, snapped awake upon hearing the words of the Mount Summer Tree King. She hastily checked the array plate. But the azure water heavenly blue great formation of Bai Lake Mountain was functioning normally at the moment, without any peculiarities. However, the elder Mount Sumru in front of her would not speak falsely. Could it be that a nascent soul immortal has infiltrated Bai Lake Mountain? Ling Zixiao's elegant visage showed a look of solemnity. The great formation of Bai Lake Mountain is a second-tier top-level great formation. Even nascent soul immortals would have difficulty infiltrating it silently and unnoticed. However, it cannot be ruled out that some nascent soul immortals with certain methods could silently enter within. Just like before with Xiahou Money, the reason he could attack Bai Lake Mountain was also because he had a treasure that could break through prohibitions. Mount Sumru predecessor, what is the cultivation level of the other party? Ling Zixiao immediately asked the Mount Sumru Tree King. It seems to be energy refining cultivator level? The voice of the Mount Sumru Tree King, clear and ethereal, carried a hint of uncertainty. Although it could sense Su Rian's traces. But this aura was faint and elusive, making it difficult for even it to capture clearly. Energy refining. Upon hearing this, Ling Zixiao's face showed a moment of shock, her expression etched with incredulity. Had she not known that the Tree King before her was not one for jesting, she might have thought the other party was teasing her. How could an energy-refining cultivator infiltrate Bai Lake Mountain silently and without notice? Could the other party have used some kind of secret technique or treasure to sneak into our Bai Lake Mountain, concealing their cultivation level? Can the predecessor suppress them within the cave heaven? Ling Zixiao said seriously. Although the Mount Sumru Tree King mentioned the intruder was only an energy-refining cultivator, she did not believe it at all. She suspected it was a nascent soul immortal who had sneaked in using a secret technique, causing even this Mount Sumru predecessor to fail in pinpointing their exact location. Therefore, at this time, she had to take swift and decisive action to catch the other party completely by surprise. After all, she also knew that within this Mount Sumru cave heaven, no one could be a match for this Mount Sumru predecessor unless a nascent soul true lord personally came. And currently in the entire cultivation world of Jianghu country, only the Heavenly Sword sect had a nascent soul true lord present. Is that so? It shouldn't be difficult. If the other party is a nascent soul cultivator, the commotion might be quite significant. After hearing Ling Zixio's words, the voice of the Mount Summer Tree King also had a hint of hesitation. Indeed, as Ling Zixiao said, such an elusive aura did not seem like someone from the Qi refinement stage. Were it truly the core formation stage, the suppression through the Mount Summer mandala barrier would indeed cause a significant disturbance. A significant disturbance? Upon hearing this, Ling Zixiao immediately took out a yin-yang sensing talisman and informed Lu Changxing of the matter. In the alchemy room, Lu Changxing, who was holding his daughter, furrowed his brow upon receiving the message. His thoughts immediately turned to Xiahou Wuwa of the Xiahou family. Through the Qingyun sect, he learned that the Xiahou money he had killed was known as Xiahou Wuxiu, one of the core members of the Xiahou family, and the brother of the fugitive false core, Xiahou Wuwa. Given the Xiahou family's characteristic of vengeful nature, this Xiahou Wuwa might have infiltrated by Lake Mountain for revenge. Suppress immediately. Lu Changsheng's divine sense transmitted directly to the Mount Summer Tree King. Then he stabilized his sleeping daughter with mana, gently placed her on the long bench, and used a soundproof talisman on her. Next, he sent several spells towards the pill furnace to temporarily seal the elixir medicines, sacrificing their quality, and then stepped out of the alchemy room. At this very moment, Su Ruyan, through her aura, arrived at a courtyard in Baiyun Peak. She saw that in the center of the pond in the backyard, amidst the swirling coldness, a mysterious turtle with an icy blue body was coiled. It was the cold blue dark turtle. Upon seeing this mysterious turtle, Su Ruyan's pupils abruptly contracted to the size of pinpoints. Deep in her beautiful eyes, a fervent desire welled up, turning her dark eyes a fiery red, as if flames were burning within them. Finally, Su Ruyan gazed at the cold blue dark turtle, her lips barely moving. After all the hardship and effort, she was finally in close proximity to a heaven-ranked demon beast, and she was overwhelmingly excited. At this moment, the beast technique within her began to operate involuntarily. However, just then, all of a sudden, under the night sky, atop Baiyun Peak, a golden jade brilliance flooded the area. A glass-like golden light shot towards Su Ruyan like a torrent. A presence surpassing heaven-ranked demon beasts. This, could it be, the legendary true spirit? How is this possible? At the moment Hong Lian sensed the aureole of glass-like golden light, she, who was always calm and composed, with a gentle and elegant voice, clear and pure, was taken aback and lost her composure. What, true spirit? Su Ruyan heard Hong Lian's voice and also noticed the aureole of glass-like golden light coming from the sky. But before she could react, she felt the world around her spin, and she vanished on the spot. At the same time, the golden jade light at the peak of Baiyun Mountain disappeared without a trace. Baiyun Peak, once again, returned to calm. Chapter 733, Inspector Su Ruyan _1, What is this place? Su Ruyan opened her eyes amidst a dizzying whirl. The scenery before her had completely changed, clearly not within by Lake Mountain. Apart from a majestic palace and a pond, all around and above her was shrouded in gray mist. But in the next moment, she felt her entire body restrained, unable to move the slightest bit. Ancestor Hong Lian, where are we? What was that true spirit you just mentioned? Su Ruyan hastily inquired of Hong Lian in her mind. Even though she was mature beyond her years and unusual compared to others, she too was somewhat at a loss in face of such a situation. Moreover, when the divine light fell just a moment ago, even the usually calm and composed ancestor Hong Lian cried out in alarm, visibly shaken, which truly unsettled her. After all, she dared to break into Bai Lake Mountain to steal a heaven-ranked demon beast, relying on this ancestor Hong Lian. This should be a cave heaven treasure, or possibly inside the body of a demon beast. This palace sensed an aura surpassing that of heaven-ranked demon beasts during the event just now. It could very well be the legendary true spirit demon beast. Hong Lian stated gravely. Her voice was no longer as ethereal and gentle, now filled with a sense of gravity. Even though she was once a nascent soul true lord and had witnessed countless great scenes, facing such a situation, her heart was also overwhelmed with shock and astonishment. If this situation had occurred within the cave dwelling or clan territory of a nascent soul true lord, she would not have been so astounded. But the problem was that By Lake Mountain was merely a spiritual land owned by a Foundation establishment family. A Foundation establishment family not only had a heaven-ranked demon beast, but also possessed a cave heaven treasure and a true spirit aura, an utterly shocking revelation. Thinking of all the information she had obtained from Su Rian regarding Lu Changsheng, including how the heaven-ranked demon beast was used as a playmate for the children in the family, she dared not hesitate any longer. She immediately told Su Rian, "Girl, we must not stay here long, open your heart and mind." "Yes, Ancestor Hong Lian." Upon hearing these words, Su Rian responded immediately. At that moment, Ling Zixiao stepped out of Changsheng Hall. She looked towards Su Rian, clad in a black bodysuit and immobilized in the air, and demanded sternly, "Who are you?" Boom! Suddenly, a fearsome and majestic magic aura spread from Su Rian's body. In the depths of her dark, enticing eyes, 2 red lotuses emerged, blooming and dyeing her pupils with a fiery red color that made her eyes seem seductively bizarre. Foundation Establishment Early Stage. Foundation Establishment Middle Stage. Foundation Establishment Late Stage. Foundation Establishment Peak. False Core. Boom, boom, boom. Su Rian's mana aura climbed relentlessly. Within a short time, it escalated from the peak of chi refinement to the level of false core, yearning to break free from the constraints binding her and to flee this place. Huh! Ling Zixiao, witnessing this, felt a sudden shock and quickly called out, "Mount Sumeru, Ancestor." Boom, boom, boom. Immediately within Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, a terrifying force of heavenly earthly confinement began to descend upon Su Rian, causing her body to feel heavy and her mana within to sink like a stone in the sea, unable to circulate even a little bit. True spirit, it really is the aura of a true spirit. We are inside a demon beast. How could this be possible? The mountain master of By Lake Mountain is only at the Foundation Establishment Cultivation. How could there be a true spirit demon beast reigning over this spiritual land? Though this demon beast is not powerful, being merely a youngling, but Su Rian, sensing this horrifying demonic power, was full of alarm in her voice. Boom! She didn't dare to think too much, as the mana aura within her continued to surge and escalate, exuding a pressure comparable to core formation, causing Ling Zixiao to feel as if the space around them was solidifying. However, just as the mana aura began to spread, a vast and profound force of heavenly earthly confinement fell upon her, making Su Rian feel heavy. All mana, her chi ocean core, everything was suppressed and sealed, unable to circulate at all. At that moment, Hong Lian's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. She knew she had been trapped. This young true spirit was not something she could compare with in her current state. Just then, faint ripples appeared in the void. A handsome young man with an upright figure, wearing a green robe, emerged. Is this an inspector? Lu Changsheng arrived at Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Seeing the figure in a black bodysuit in the air, he was momentarily stunned. He had thought that Xiahou Wuwa had infiltrated their home. But upon seeing the figure immobilized in mid-air in an X shape, he immediately thought of the Inspector series from a previous life. The figure wore a black bodysuit that wrapped tightly around the body, leaving only the eyes exposed. But this tight outfit perfectly highlighted her curvaceous and attractive figure. Especially the entire person, presenting an X shape. Even though her face was not visible, just from the graceful figure alone, she exuded a different kind of allure. My lord, Ling Zixiao, seeing Lu Changsheng come over, immediately reported the recent events to him. Mount Sumeru. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng called out at once. Rip, as Lu Changsheng's voice sounded, Mount Sumeru Tree King immediately received the command, and its demonic power surged. Before their eyes, the immobilized Su Rian in the black bodysuit ripped apart with a rip. As the black bodysuit shattered, the features of the inspector were revealed. Flaming red silky hair, an exquisitely beautiful face, eyes clear and cold with the appearance of two blooming red lotuses, mysterious and elegant. Her alluring and provocative figure was scantily clad in just a red gold-threaded phoenix-embroidered undergarment, revealing a swath of white jade skin from her slender neck. Below that was the fullness of her bounteous pride. Even through the undergarment, its impressive form was apparent. Smooth and flat belly, with a waist so slender and delicate. At her waist, the underpants could not fully hide the round and ample curves of her behind. And a pair of legs like creamy white jade, long and slender yet strong and firm, proportioned perfectly with her figure. Chapter 734. Inspector Su Rian. Ling Zixiao gently caressed Su Rian's skin as she spoke. Underneath Ling Zixiao's palm, Su Rian felt goosebumps erupt all over her body upon hearing those words. At that moment, she realized that the rumors about Lu Changxing in the outside world were mistaken. The other party was definitely not any kind of gentleman. Otherwise, why would he become Dao companions with such a woman? To think she had just sought help from her, only to find this woman to be even worse than Lu Changxing, a veritable witch, a demoness. Miss Su, are you still unwilling to speak? Hearing Ling Zixiao's words, Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he said in a cold voice. He too was pondering how to deal with Su Rian before him. As Ling Zixiao had said, since the other party knew about the Mount Sumra Tree King, she definitely could not be allowed to leave alive. As for killing her, he remembered that the Su Rian before him possessed a 4th-grade spiritual root. A female cultivator with a 4th-grade spiritual root would indeed make for a fine breeding partner, a shame to kill. Moreover, following the plot of the inspector, infiltrating and failing, becoming a captive, and then being taken by oneself, that seemed reasonable, didn't it? However, his first priority was to clear up the soul within Su Rian. After all, compared to a soul capable of advancing Su Rian from qi refinement to core formation, her issues seemed trivial. Just kill me. Su Rian continued to speak through gritted teeth. Her face showed the resolute expression of someone resigned to death, exuding an air of nobility and dignity that could not be violated. Hee, does Miss Su really wish for death so earnestly? Lu Changxing laughed lightly, enjoying the presence of a strict and noble young lady like her. If she had submitted to him at first sight, he would have found it boring. While speaking, he lifted Su Rian's chin and appraised her. If you behave, perhaps Lu might grant you a way out? You wanted a demon beast, didn't you? If there's one thing Lu has in abundance, it's demon beasts. Look, what's this? Having said this, Lu Changxing slapped the spiritual beast bag and the 6-winged golden silkworm appeared, emanating a brutal and bloodthirsty aura at his side. Don't you desire to seek justice for your father? Are you really content to die here like this? If you're willing to obey, maybe Lu would be willing to avenge you in the future, to help you obtain justice for your father. Lu Changsheng's voice was deep and tempting. This, Su Rian opened her eyes wide, looking at the 6-winged golden silkworm. Her cultivation technique, beast technique, was sensitive to the aura of demon beasts, allowing her to sense their bloodline potential to some extent. Therefore, through her beast technique, she instantly knew this was a spiritual insect with heaven-rank bloodline potential. Looking at the 6-winged golden silkworm before her and listening to Lu Changsheng's words, even though Su Rian knew he was deceiving her, her heart couldn't help waver slightly. After all, she was currently facing a desperate situation. And Lu Changsheng's words had sparked some hope within her, a desire to survive. Because she truly didn't wish to die here. As a child, she was discovered to possess a 4th-grade spiritual root and showed an affinity for pet beasts, exhibiting a remarkable talent for beast taming. She subsequently found an ancient beast taming charm and even received guidance from a senior. Her life was meant to be extraordinary, achieving core formation, even nascent soul, and standing at the peak of the cultivation world. How could she be willing to die here? Girl, adapt to the circumstances. At this time, a pleasant sigh resonated within Su Rian's mind. It was the voice of Hong Lian. She knew that facing such a situation, it would be difficult to escape opportunistically using the ancient charm. Moreover, Lu Changxing before her might have already sensed her presence, so she too had abandoned any attempt to hide. Furthermore, based on Su Rian's rough introduction about Lu Changxing, the presence of two young demon beasts with heavenly grade bloodlines and a young true spirit made her suspect something. Hee hee. Lu Changxing saw the struggle in Su Ruiyan's eyes. He knew she wasn't truly prepared to embrace death. Or rather, Su Ruiyan had never imagined she would fail or become a captive on this mission. Since she didn't truly possess the desire to die, everything became much easier to handle. Miss Su, are you here to steal my spiritual beasts? Lu Changxing wore a smile, inquiring in a gentle, refined manner, like that of a modest gentleman. This question was obvious. What he wanted was for Su Ruiyan to speak up. Many things happen only once or countless times. Once Su Ruiyan spoke for the first time, everything thereafter would become much simpler. Chapter 735, Your grandpa is so beautiful, now he's mine. _1 Su Ruiyan gazed at Lu Changxing's peerlessly handsome features, listening to his voice, gentle as the winter's sun, feeling as though she were basked in the warmth of a spring breeze. Her agitated heart involuntarily calmed down. She felt that Lu Changxing harbored no blame towards her at all. It was purely a matter of her having done something wrong, and an affectionate elder was patiently instructing her. She knew it was an illusion, that Lu Changxing was employing some technique on her, but she still responded in a soft voice, yes. Seeing this, a hint of a smile appeared in both Lu Changxing and Ling Zixio's eyes. Knowing that Su Ruiyan had relented, the matter would be easier to handle. Was it because of the matter with the spiritual beasts that Miss Su observed Lu so intently back at Wugong Ridgejing family? Lu Changxing continued to speak, his voice smooth as jade, persuasive and gentle. Yes, with Miss Su's family background, surely you aren't lacking in spiritual beasts, right? Didn't Patriarch Su prepare for you the earth-grade bloodline spirit beast fire python tiger and heavenly fire mink before? Lu Changxing's face showed a warm smile, as he smoothed Su Ruiyan's somewhat disordered fiery red hair, tucking it behind her ear. Her hair felt glossy and soft to the touch, very pleasant to the fingers. Su Ruiyan bit her lips until they turned somewhat pale, a struggle evident in her eyes, as she said, because I need a heavenly rank demon beast. Though heavenly rank demon beasts are indeed rare, the mysterious turtle spirit beast in Lu's home is merely at the initial stage of first grade. Even if Miss Su took it, cultivating it to maturity would take decades, maybe even a century, and during this time, it probably wouldn't be of any help to Miss Su, right? So, why would Miss Su go to such lengths to do this? Lu Changxing continued to inquire. This was the point he found most perplexing. Heavenly rank bloodline demon beasts were indeed rare and precious. But cultivating them was also extremely difficult. Especially the cold blue dark turtle from his family, known to be a turtle-type demon beast, notoriously slow-growing. Su Ruiyan, by stealing it, aiming to nurture it to second rank, potent enough to be an ally, would need at least decades. And yet, here she was, at the pinnacle of chi refinement, not breaking through to foundation establishment at home, but instead attempting to steal at his place, making him suspect other reasons. Hearing this, Su Ruiyan's spirit trembled. She bit her lips tightly and then slowly closed her eyes. The heavenly rank demon beast was linked to her cultivation technique, beast technique, her true secret, one she was unwilling to reveal. Miss Su, are you unwilling to speak? Lu Changxing chuckled, his palm caressing Su Ruiyan's smooth cheek and sliding down to her slender neck, saying, it seems this heavenly rank spirit beast must be tied to some other important secret. Could it be related to the mighty soul within Miss Su? Lu Changxing said this. Under Lu Changxing's gentle touch, Su Ruiyan felt a soft numbness throughout her body, biting her lips to death. But at his words, her pupils shrank sharply, and a look of terror appeared in her beautiful eyes. She had not expected Lu Changxing to know of the existence of Elder Hong Lian. Compared to the beast technique, Elder Hong Lian was her greatest secret. Aside from herself, not a second person knew of this secret. But now, it had been spoken by Lu Changxing. A soul within the body. Ling Zixiao, who was nearby, heard this, looked at Su Ruiyan's expression, and also showed surprise, contemplating deeply. She had been pondering, how could an energy-refining cultivator's magic aura suddenly rise to rival core formation? Even with some rare artifact, it wouldn't be so exaggerated. Now hearing Lu Changsheng's words, realization dawned on her. To temporarily elevate an energy refining cultivator's cultivation level to core formation, at least it must be that of a nascent soul true lord, right? Ling Zixiao felt a chill of fear and suspicion. If it weren't for the Mount Summer Tree King residing at home, facing such an entity, the consequences would have been unimaginable. It seems, Lu has guessed correctly, hasn't he? Clad in a light blue brocade robe, Lu Changsheng's attractive face wore an inviting smile, as comforting as a spring day, captivating to anyone who looked upon him. No, it's for myself. The cultivation technique I am practicing requires a contract with a heavenly ranked demon beast. Su Rian opened her eyes, breathing slightly, and said. Now that Elder Hong Lian's matter had been sensed by Lu Changsheng, she knew there was no need to hide anymore. She could only hope, after revealing her situation, that Lu Changsheng would, as previously said, spare her. Oh. The cultivation technique requires a contract with a heavenly ranked demon beast? Lu Changsheng heard this and frowned slightly. He had not expected there to be such a cultivation technique. Nevertheless, he did not doubt her words. After all, he possessed several peripheral sect-level and orthodox-level cultivation techniques. Knowing that the types of cultivation techniques were diverse and strange. Su Rian's must be some sort of beast-taming cultivation technique, related to spiritual beasts. Does it mean a contract must be made with a heavenly ranked demon beast to break through the realm? If so, that's rather harsh. Could it be, the higher the latent potential of the contracted spirit beast's bloodline, the better the Tao foundation that is condensed, the more solid the basis? Lu Changsheng pondered to himself. He roughly guessed why Su Rian hadn't broken through to foundation establishment and was in such a hurry to steal a spirit beast from his place. It was likely related to her advancement from Qi refinement to foundation establishment. For a cultivator, the Tao foundation formed during the break from energy refinement to foundation establishment is of utmost importance. Once the Tao foundation is established, unless one breaks the foundation and starts over, it cannot be reformed or improved. If your Tao foundation is inferior, so are your combat abilities and potential. Even if you later obtain top-tier cultivation techniques, the foundation will still be affected by the quality of the Tao foundation. For average cultivators, this is not a big deal. For them, being able to break through to foundation establishment is already a blessing. But Su Rian, who is exceptionally gifted and harbors a mighty soul within her, would certainly take this step very seriously, striving to do her best. Chapter 736, Your grandpa is really beautiful, now he's mine. So that's how it is. Lu Changsheng nodded and said with a smile, let me guess, it must be the bloodline rank of the spiritual beasts that concerns Miss Su's breakthrough at the foundation establishment stage, the quality of her Tao foundation, and her future potential. After all, with Miss Su's talent and fortuitous encounters, the future holds at least core formation, if not nascent soul. How could she be content with using an earth-grade bloodline spiritual beast to condense her Tao foundation? Therefore, when Miss Su sensed that I possess a heavenly rank bloodline spiritual beast, she thought to obtain a heavenly rank spirit beast through me for her breakthrough, which is why she resorted to such thievery. Lu Changsheng spoke unhurriedly, his face wearing a light smile. Upon hearing this, Su Rian was taken aback. She had not expected that by merely mentioning her cultivation technique required a contract with a heavenly rank demon beast, Lu Changsheng would guess the general situation of her beast technique. Her lips pursed, she responded coldly, that's right, so what if it is? No, so what, I think it is quite reasonable and normal, Lu Changsheng said with a light chuckle. In the cultivation world, when faced with an opportunity, one must not miss it. One must fight and scramble for it by oneself, only by doing so can one travel far on the path of cultivation. Miss Su's actions are not at all improper, it is just that you encountered me, hence your current predicament. Su Rian was momentarily stunned by Lu Changsheng's words. She had not expected him to actually approve of her actions. A mix of indescribable emotions surged within her heart. If it were me, faced with such an opportunity, I would certainly think of a way to snatch it. There's no need for Miss Su to feel embarrassed, Lu Changsheng said with a chuckle, pinching Su Rian's delicately beautiful cheek. Is that so? At these words, Su Rian's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of bewilderment. Indeed, the cultivation world is such, where the strong prey on the weak, without reasoning. But deep down, she still knew that this kind of behavior was inappropriate. However, hearing Lu Changsheng's words like this, she felt somewhat less guilty. She even thought that Lu Changsheng might not be that bad, quite understanding, and wouldn't be too harsh on her. Perhaps if she cooperated and behaved, he might really let her go. However, the principle remains, but Miss Su, before committing such an act, you must have been prepared for the consequences, right? Lu Changsheng's palm slid from her soft and tender cheek down to her slender neck, delicate collarbone, and then to the full pride beneath the golden phoenix lingerie. He then grasped a difficult-to-hold snowy part, letting the rich creamy white jade overflow at his fingertips. Boom! As Lu Changsheng's warm hand assaulted her sensitive spot, Su Rian's mind went blank, her gaze somewhat scattered. Although she was mature in mind, she had never experienced such matters between men and women before. Ling Zixio's palm had roamed her body, but as a woman, she could barely endure it. But now, the hand of a strange man tightly grasped her full pride, leaving her mind blank and somewhat at a loss. Her body, though restrained and hard to move, seemed electrified at this moment, her long beautiful legs straight as jade, the toes of her feet tensed. You said if I behaved, you would let me go, Su Rian said with a tremble, lowering her beautiful eyes and enduring the shame. Just a moment ago, her heart had grown somewhat fond and accepting of Lu Changsheng. But his current actions completely disrupted her thoughts, and she could no longer converse calmly with Lu Changsheng. That's right, I did say that as long as you behave, I will let you go, and I might even give you a heavenly rank demon beast to seek justice for your father. But, this will depend on whether Miss Su is obedient enough, Lu Changsheng said softly in Su Rian's ear as he played with the fullness in his hand and leaned in close. Ling Zixiao watched Lu Changsheng's behavior, scolding him with her eyes. She knew Lu Changsheng was lustful but would not descend into extreme indecency. Nevertheless, seeing his frivolous actions, they appeared to her as smooth and natural, not at all contrived. Lu Changsheng, just kill me. Su Rian, her body tingling, a strong sense of shame erupting from her heart, shouted loudly. She felt she must have been delirious to have believed that Lu Changsheng before her was considerate and trustworthy. Alas, why must you be like this, Miss Su? Lu Changsheng sighed slightly and said, however, since you wish to die, I will grant your wish. Puchi. The next moment, Su Rian saw Lu Changsheng before her suddenly turn expressionless, and with a swift motion, a flying sword was conjured, beheading her. Blood splattered, and her head rolled to the ground. Her own eyes reflected an unbelievable shock, staring in death. Her consciousness began to blur, and darkness surrounded her. Rian. Little Een. From within the darkness, she seemed to hear calls. One scene after another appeared before her. Grandpa, father, mother. Su Tiandu. Su Rian watched as the scenes unfolded before her eyes. She recalled when she was young and discovered to have a fourth-grade spiritual root and an affinity with pet beasts, swearing to become the pride of her family. She recalled when she was young, seeing her father crippled in the family competition, and vowed to seek justice for him. She remembered after starting cultivation, finding an ancient beast taming charm and receiving guidance from a nascent soul predecessor, aspiring to nascent soul, vowing to become Jianghu country's #1 cultivator. But now, all of these turned into nothing more than fleeting dreams. At this moment, Su Rian felt an intense desire for survival. She wanted to break free from the abyss of death, to live well and be the pride of her parents, her grandfather, and her family. To seek justice for her father, to become a nascent soul true lord, and to fulfill the promise made with Hong Lian. However, just then, the ancient beast taming charm in her mind flashed with a hint of colorful light, and a cooling sensation surged into her brain. Crash! The surrounding scenes burst like bubbles, shattering into nothingness. Chapter 737, Your grandpa is really beautiful, now he's mine. So that's how it is. Lu Changsheng nodded and said with a smile, let me guess, it must be the bloodline rank of the spiritual beasts that concerns Miss Su's breakthrough at the foundation establishment stage, the quality of her Dao foundation, and her future potential. After all, with Miss Su's talent and fortuitous encounters, the future holds at least core formation, if not nascent soul. How could she be content with using an earth-grade bloodline spiritual beast to condense her Dao foundation? Therefore, when Miss Su sensed that I possess a heavenly rank bloodline spiritual beast, she thought to obtain a heavenly rank spirit beast through me for her breakthrough, which is why she resorted to such thievery. Lu Changxing spoke unhurriedly, his face wearing a light smile. Upon hearing this, Su Ruyan was taken aback. She had not expected that by merely mentioning her cultivation technique required a contract with a heavenly rank demon beast, Lu Changxing would guess the general situation of her beast technique. Her lips pursed, she responded coldly, "That's right, so what if it is?" "No, so what, I think it is quite reasonable and normal," Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle. In the cultivation world, when faced with an opportunity, one must not miss it. One must fight and scramble for it by oneself. Only by doing so can one travel far on the path of cultivation. Miss Su's actions are not at all improper, it is just that you encountered me, hence your current predicament. Su Ruyan was momentarily stunned by Lu Changxing's words. She had not expected him to actually approve of her actions. A mix of indescribable emotions surged within her heart. If it were me, faced with such an opportunity, I would certainly think of a way to snatch it. "There's no need for Miss Su to feel embarrassed," Lu Changxing said with a chuckle, pinching Su Ruyan's delicately beautiful cheek. "Is that so?" At these words, Su Ruyan's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of bewilderment. Indeed, the cultivation world is such, where the strong prey on the weak, without reasoning. But deep down, she still knew that this kind of behavior was inappropriate. However, hearing Lu Changxing's words like this, she felt somewhat less guilty. She even thought that Lu Changxing might not be that bad, quite understanding, and wouldn't be too harsh on her. Perhaps if she cooperated and behaved, he might really let her go. However, the principle remains, "But Miss Su, before committing such an act, you must have been prepared for the consequences, right?" Lu Changxing's palm slid from her soft and tender cheek down to her slender neck, delicate collarbone, and then to the full pride beneath the golden phoenix lingerie. He then grasped a difficult-to-hold snowy part, letting the rich creamy white jade overflow at his fingertips. Boom! As Lu Changxing's warm hand assaulted her sensitive spot, Su Ruyan's mind went blank, her gaze somewhat scattered. Although she was mature in mind, she had never experienced such matters between men and women before. Ling Zixio's palm had roamed her body, but as a woman, she could barely endure it. But now, the hand of a strange man tightly grasped her full pride, leaving her mind blank and somewhat at a loss. Her body, though restrained and hard to move, seemed electrified at this moment, her long beautiful legs straight as jade, the toes of her feet tensed. You said if I behaved, you would let me go," Su Ruyan said with a tremble, lowering her beautiful eyes and enduring the shame. Just a moment ago, her heart had grown somewhat fond and accepting of Lu Changxing. But his current actions completely disrupted her thoughts, and she could no longer converse calmly with Lu Changxing. "That's right, I did say that as long as you behave, I will let you go, and I might even give you a heavenly rank demon beast to seek justice for your father, but this will depend on whether Miss Su is obedient enough," Lu Changxing said softly in Su Ruyan's ear as he played with the fullness in his hand and leaned in close. Ling Zixia watched Lu Changxing's behavior, scolding him with her eyes. She knew Lu Changxing was lustful but would not descend into extreme indecency. Nevertheless, seeing his frivolous actions, they appeared to her as smooth and natural, not at all contrived. "Lu Changxing, just kill me." Su Ruyan, her body tingling, a strong sense of shame erupting from her heart, shouted loudly. She felt she must have been delirious to have believed that Lu Changxing before her was considerate and trustworthy. "Alas, why must you be like this, Miss Su?" Lu Changxing sighed slightly and said, "However, since you wish to die, I will grant your wish." Puchi. The next moment, Su Ruyan saw Lu Changxing before her suddenly turn expressionless, and with a swift motion, a flying sword was conjured, beheading her. Blood splattered, and her head rolled to the ground. Her own eyes reflected an unbelievable shock, staring in death. Her consciousness began to blur, and darkness surrounded her. Ruyan. Little Een. From within the darkness, she seemed to hear calls. One scene after another appeared before her. Grandpa, father, mother. Su Tiandu. Su Ruyan watched as the scenes unfolded before her eyes. She recalled when she was young and discovered to have a 4th-grade spiritual root and an affinity with pet beasts, swearing to become the pride of her family. She recalled when she was young, seeing her father crippled in the family competition, and vowed to seek justice for him. She remembered after starting cultivation, finding an ancient beast taming charm and receiving guidance from a nascent soul predecessor, aspiring to nascent soul, vowing to become Jianghu country's #1 cultivator. But now, all of these turned into nothing more than fleeting dreams. At this moment, Su Ruyan felt an intense desire for survival. She wanted to break free from the abyss of death, to live well and be the pride of her parents, her grandfather, and her family. To seek justice for her father, to become a nascent soul true lord, and to fulfill the promise made with Hong Lian. However, just then, the ancient beast taming charm in her mind flashed with a hint of colorful light, and a cooling sensation surged into her brain. Crash! The surrounding scenes burst like bubbles, shattering into nothingness. Chapter 738, Your grandpa is truly beautiful, now he's mine. Su Ruyan suddenly opened her eyes and saw Lu Changxing, who appeared noble and gentle before her. A chill spread through her heart, and she instantly knew that the scene she had just witnessed was an illusion. You woke up so soon. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow as he looked at Su Ruyan before him. He had just used a 3rd-rank illusion heart talisman on Su Ruyan. He had thought that she would be lost in the illusion, experiencing the pain of life and death, various scenes. Waiting for her soul, vulnerabilities, and flaws to be exposed and shattered in the illusion, her spirit weak, he planned to slowly train her at that point. But he had not expected Su Ruyan to struggle free from the illusion heart talisman so quickly. He realized that it must be the mighty soul within her causing trouble. Otherwise, with Su Ruyan's peak chi refinement cultivation level and her spirit lost, it would have been absolutely impossible for her to break free from a 3rd-rank illusion heart talisman. Miss Su, have the senior within you come out, Lu Changxing said, retracting his smile and speaking earnestly. Knowing the presence of a mighty soul within her, he understood that his little tricks would be of no use against Su Ruyan. It would be better to have this mighty soul show themselves directly. I don't know what you're talking about, Su Ruyan said, biting her lip. Seeing that the senior Hong Lian had remained silent, she realized that even Hong Lian had no solution for this situation. Thus, she did not want to expose the senior Hong Lian prematurely. Does the senior really intend to just watch in silence, hiding and not showing themselves? That really doesn't suit the demeanor of a respected elder, Lu Changxing said indifferently, looking at Su Ruyan. Young lady. A faint sigh resonated in Su Ruyan's mind. She knew that at this moment, she had to meet with Lu Changxing. Senior Hong Lian. Su Ruyan bit her lip tightly. Then she said to Lu Changxing in a feeble voice, I am completely restrained, and Senior Hong Lian cannot show themselves. I see, Lu Changxing said, not expecting the restraint seal of Mount Sumeru to prevent the grandfather inside her from appearing. He immediately had Mount Sumeru slightly release Su Ruyan. Afterward, an ancient talisman the size of 2 fingers, resembling neither jade nor stone and engraved with the pattern of a mystical beast, flew out from Su Ruyan's forehead. Flashes of colorful light surged from the talisman, and countless tiny red points of light appeared. In the empty space, they formed a faint silhouette of a woman in a luxurious red palace gown with golden edges, wearing a bejeweled crown, her face delicate and features perfect. Even though her figure and face were ethereal, making her seem almost unreal, her mere presence commanded a sacred and noble bearing, making her every gesture seem divine. The senior is actually in this form? Lu Changxing looked at Hong Lian in front of him, his eyes revealing surprise and admiration, though his expression remained calm. He had thought that there was an old grandfather within Su Ruyan. He had not expected it to actually be a fairy goddess. He couldn't help but click his tongue inwardly. Was he fortunate enough to have stumbled upon a streak of romantic luck? After capturing the younger, now he had been presented with the elder. Your grandfather is truly beautiful, but soon will belong to me. This mighty soul senior is actually a woman. Ling Zixio's beautiful eyes also showed a hint of surprise and disbelief. She had not expected the mighty soul within Su Ruyan to be that of a woman. Despite her ethereal form, she hid none of her peerless elegance. Her eyes as picturesque as a painting, skin whiter than snow, figure slender, with an air of grace and vitality. Her pupils were red, and her lips very red, red like flames. It gave her an aura of sacred nobility and majesty, making others feel inferior and dare not defile. Ling Zixiao knew that this was the result of a long-cultivated prestige and poise of someone of high status. The senior in front of them was not only powerful, but also held no ordinary position. However, perhaps due to spending too much time with Lu Changxing, she felt no sense of awe in her heart upon seeing this senior. In fact, she even remembered their return trip from Jiuxiao Immortal City to Qingzhou Mountain with Lu Changxing when they ran into Nangong Mili and Meng Xiaochan. Back then, it was also a case of an elder and a younger person, but after encountering her lord husband. What would you like to discuss, young Master Lu? Hong Lian asked softly, her voice cool and enchanting, like the most melodious of sounds. She knew there was no use continuing to hide. Lu Changxing had clearly confirmed her existence and was not bluffing. If she continued to remain hidden, Lu Changxing might employ other methods to force her to appear, so it was better to show herself straightforwardly. There is nothing in particular, I was merely curious to meet the senior living within Miss Su, Lu Changxing spoke calmly and composedly. If they were elsewhere, he would keep his distance from a mighty soul like Hong Lian and prepare defensive measures. But inside Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, with Mount Sumeru there, he felt no fear. Furthermore, Mount Sumeru had indicated that this soul's power was presently restrained and could not unleash its full combat potential. In front of young Master Lu, I cannot lay claim to any notable seniority or wisdom, Hong Lian replied, unable to gauge Lu Changsheng's intentions, keeping her tone soft and graceful. I wonder what it would take for young Master Lu to allow me and Miss Su to leave, she continued to inquire with a calmly composed expression. The senior must be aware, entering here, it is impossible for me to let you go, Lu Changxing replied with a light chuckle. However, if the senior wishes to leave this place, it's quite simple. As the saying goes, a good bird chooses the tree it perches in, a wise minister chooses the master he serves. For what reason does the senior choose to remain with Miss Su? Whatever Miss Su can offer you, I believe I can offer the same, and even more. Therefore, as long as the senior is willing to follow me, leaving this place will naturally be a simple matter, said Lu Changxing, a sincere expression appearing on his face. Chapter 739, Your grandpa is truly beautiful, now he's mine. _4 He didn't know why the old grandpa was following Su Ruyan. But after thinking it over, it was either for the purpose of possession and resurrection, or there were some unfulfilled wishes. Since Su Ruyan could do it, he naturally could do it too. Why not use this method to make the being his own? After all, the woman in the red dress was at least a nascent soul true lord. With a nascent soul true lord grandpa, he feared he could take many shortcuts on his path of cultivation. Moreover, to become a nascent soul true lord, one's talent was undoubtedly extraordinary. If she became the mother of his children, the kids should turn out quite remarkable, right? Although the other party only had a soul, Lu Changxing thought of the soul fusion resurrection elixir in his system space. This elixir was a 4th-rank elixir medicine, capable of regenerating flesh from bones and reviving a soul as long as the cultivator's spirit had not dissipated. He might be able to subdue this woman by using this elixir as bait. Lu Changxing, you. When Su Ruyan heard Lu Changxing open his mouth to say a good bird chooses a tree to nest in, a wise minister chooses a lord to serve, she immediately showed an annoyed expression. Though the words were not insulting, it was clear they implied she was not up to par. And for him to undermine her in front of her face was truly distressing and infuriating. Hong Lian did not expect that as soon as Lu Changxing spoke, he would want to subdue her. While Su Ruyan was still not mature enough and had a long way to go, her character, Dao heart, and perseverance were all quite commendable. Furthermore, since the ancient beast-taming charm had chosen Su Ruyan, who had the grace of awakening her, she could not easily abandon her and leave. But if she disagreed, both she and Su Ruyan would be trapped here. If I agree, would Master Lu be willing to let Ruyan go? Hong Lian's voice was ethereal and soft, very pleasant to hear. Senior Hong Lian. When Su Ruyan heard this, her eyes immediately reddened, and she cursed Lu Changsheng. Lu Changsheng, you are despicable and shameless, actually. But before she could finish her sentence, Mount Summer restrained her speech, rendering her unable to speak. Miss Su, it is said that one should aim for higher places and water flows to lower ground. Senior Hong Lian is willing to follow me to spare you, why can't you offer her a better choice? Don't you think that if Senior Hong Lian follows me, she is obviously better off than with you? Think about it, if it weren't for you trying to steal my spiritual beast, how could you have fallen into such a plight, bringing Senior Hong Lian into this mess with you? Lu Changsheng said calmly and indifferently to Su Ruyan. Su Ruyan's face turned ugly and her expression was furious as she listened to Lu Changsheng's words. But she was unable to say anything now. And apart from cursing, she didn't know what else to say. Just as Lu Changsheng had said, if Senior Hong Lian followed him, she would clearly be better off than with her. If not for her, Senior Hong Lian wouldn't have been in such a dangerous situation. At this moment, her heart was deeply wounded by Lu Changsheng. Young lady, Hong Lian looked at Su Ruyan and softly comforted her. Then she sighed towards Lu Changsheng. Master Lu needn't say more, I am also aware of the theft of the spiritual beast, and I didn't stop it. Now, Hong Lian has no other desires, only hoping that Master Lu can spare Ruyan. Hong Lian's voice was cool and moving. Letting her go now is naturally impossible, but in consideration of Senior's face, as long as she obediently behaves, my previous promise will stand. Not only will she be spared in the future, but she will also be given a heavenly rank bloodline demon beast to assist her revenge. Lu Changsheng said with a smile, his attitude sincere. Hong Lian in front of him was a mighty soul, who in life was at least a nascent soul true monarch. Such status and position were enough for him to show a certain amount of respect. Moreover, he had never intended to kill Ruyan Su. She possessed not only a fourth-grade spiritual root, but she was also considered someone of great fortune and destiny. If such a person could be groomed and subdued to become the mother of his child, it would be a great boost for the family. As for subduing someone, the cultivation world had no shortage of methods, including his Lockhart goo. However, he wasn't too keen on using the Lockhart goo on Ruyan Su. For one, the goo had already reached its limit with Meng Xiaochan and Nangong Meili. If he added one more person to the mix, it might lead to instability. Moreover, men often have a soft spot for women who deeply love them, even if that deep love is the result of certain methods. I, Lu Changsheng, never coerce anyone, nor will I use Miss Su's life to threaten a senior. So Senior can take your time to think it over, feel free to make any demands. As long as you are willing to sincerely follow me, I can not only help you resurrect and restore your physical body, but perhaps even help you return to your peak. Lu Changsheng looked at Hong Lian, his voice calm and steady as he continued to speak. Hong Lian did not respond. To tell the truth, Lu Changsheng's words seemed very sincere to her. Even in her view, following Lu Changsheng was not a bad choice. One reason was Lu Changsheng's various astonishing performances, and the presence of heavenly rank bloodline demon beasts and true spirit demon beasts at home, which truly made her tempted to think more about it. She believed that Lu Changsheng was a reincarnation of a mighty being. Moreover, she had a favorable impression of Lu Changsheng. It wasn't just because of his facial appearance. And also, this issue was initially their own fault, hers and Ruyan's. Yet Lu Changsheng did not pressure them too harshly or do anything excessive. Senior need not rush to reply, you can take your time to consider. By the way, when I mentioned resurrecting Senior, it wasn't just talk. This elixir medicine, named Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, is something you should recognize. Lu Changsheng took out the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir from the system space. This elixir medicine was the size of a dragon's eye, presenting in black and red colors. Its surface was lustrous and full, with white and black energy flowing around it, making it appear exceptionally mystical. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. Upon seeing the elixir medicine in Lu Changsheng's hand, Hong Lian's soul trembled, and she couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Amazement that could not be concealed shone in her beautiful eyes. As a nascent soul true lord, she naturally knew the renown of the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. This elixir, ranked 4th rank, even if the nascent soul was shattered and life was extinct, as long as the soul had not dispersed, after ingesting the elixir, one could regenerate flesh from bone and come back to life. Although her current condition was just a remnant soul with neither nascent soul nor a physical body, as long as she could find a suitable body, she could use this elixir to resurrect herself and quickly restore her cultivation level. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. Ling Zixiao and Ruyan Su, upon seeing the elixir medicine in Lu Changsheng's hands, also showed surprise. Although they had not heard of the fame of this elixir, seeing Hong Lian's reaction, they could roughly guess the effects of the elixir and its help in Hong Lian's resurrection. Both were shocked, never imagining that Lu Changsheng could produce such a rare elixir medicine. Especially Ruyan Su. Reconstructing a body for Hong Lian was part of the promise she had made with her, but such a task, in her opinion, was still extremely far off. At least she had to wait until she reached core formation before she could even start to consider it. But now, Lu Changsheng casually produced an elixir that could aid in the resurrection of Senior Hong Lian. This deeply shook her. She felt that what Lu Changsheng said made sense. People reach for higher ground and water flows to lower ground. If Senior Hong Lian chose to follow Lu Changsheng, it would clearly be 100 times better than staying with her. Even if she decided to obediently comply and submit to Lu Changsheng, perhaps that was not a bad choice either. At this moment, not only was Hong Lian faced with a choice, but Ruyan's heart was also caught in a dilemma. Chapter 740, The Choice of Two Women. _1, Heaven Rank Demon Beast, True Spirit Level Demon Beast, Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, Spiritual Eye Spring. This is definitely not something a foundation establishment cultivator could obtain. Even a nascent soul cultivator would not have such an extraordinary opportunity. Moreover, according to what Little Sue said, this person's growth experience can be described as nothing short of legendary. Originally, he was just a son-in-law with a lower-grade spiritual root from a family. But in over 20 years, from a mere mortal, a family son-in-law, he broke through foundation establishment and established a familial dynasty. If it were just that, it might be explicable. After all, the cultivation world never lacks minor figures who rise up from opportunities. But the combination of this person's various deeds and such extraordinary opportunities completely cannot be explained as a minor figure rising through opportunity. Especially the way this person faced me without deference or arrogance, his words filled with confidence. Such a demeanor is certainly not that of an ordinary cultivator. Hong Lian looked at the handsome-faced, slender-framed Lu Changsheng before her, looking like an orchid in bloom with elegant demeanor, and remained silent, pondering in her heart. Originally, at the Wugong Ridge Jing family, through Su Ruyan, she briefly observed and understood Lu Changsheng. She then concluded that Lu Changsheng had great fortune and secrets. But upon seeing the Mount Sumra Tree King, she deeply suspected that Lu Changsheng was the reincarnation of a great power. Because the situation with Lu Changsheng simply could not be clearly explained by chance encounters and fortunes. Now, seeing the 4th-rank elixir medicine Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, she was almost certain that Lu Changsheng was a great power reincarnated for recultivation. Because other than this reason, she really couldn't think of any other explanations. This person is definitely a great power reincarnated for recultivation. Inside his body, I also sensed a terrifying presence. This presence might just be the backup left over from his previous life, the sealed mana of cultivation within his body that, once in danger, would be released. Hong Lian thought of the terrifying presence she sensed from Lu Changsheng, which was faint but there. This presence, she herself didn't know how to describe. She only felt it to be profoundly mysterious and exceedingly terrifying. However, this person's life experience, in a bit over 20 years, fathering over 100 children and establishing a cultivation family, could it be that he really is the legendary Dragon Emperor body, aiming to follow the path of that Saint King of Zhongzhou from the past? It's rumored that the Saint King of Zhongzhou fathered countless progeny, imposing a monarch's hierarchy within the cultivation world, centralizing power within a single family to draw the world's destiny upon one's self and kin. But I have never heard of anyone who could reincarnate for recultivation and decide their own physique, especially such a legendary Taoist body. Could it be that he acquired a new soul to rebuild? But if that's the case, why did he waste so many years in his early life? Hong Lian murmured to herself, continuously pondering, trying to make sense of Lu Changsheng's situation. But the more she thought about it, the more mysterious and unfathomable Lu Changsheng before her seemed to be, enveloped in a shroud of mist. However, if he truly possesses the Dragon Emperor body, Hong Lian hesitated in her thoughts, considering the effects of the Dragon Emperor body. Knowing that if her suspicions were correct, and Lu Changsheng possessed the legendary Dragon Emperor body, then following him would mean becoming akin to his wife or concubine, bearing his children. After all, such a matter would be considered natural and fitting for his great Tao for the legendary Dragon Emperor body. Perhaps it is precisely for this reason that he proposed to recruit me. Hong Lian paused again in her thoughts, believing that Lu Changsheng was indeed sincere in his actions, as she had suspected. I wish to rebuild my body, return to the peak, solve the mysteries of the past, and avenge my grievances. Relying on little Su, the hopes are slim. Moreover, both little Su and I have fallen into this man's hands. Escaping is not an option. If I follow him, I may live another life, unravel the past. Even if I become his wife or concubine, what of it? As a nascent soul true lord, Hong Lian wasn't too concerned whether Lu Changsheng was recruiting her because of her beauty. Instead, she immediately weighed the pros and cons. After all, her current situation didn't leave her with many choices. Moreover, following Lu Changsheng was a very good choice. Because through all these judgments, Lu Changsheng wasn't just any great power reincarnated for recultivation. At the very least, he was a divinity transformation true monarch. Maybe even above the divinity transformation realm. Following Lu Changsheng, she might not only be able to revive, return to the peak, and avenge her grievances, but also have the chance to progress further. And, if she guessed correctly, and Lu Changsheng would, like that Saint King of Zhongzhou, establish his own familial dynasty in the future. Her current choice to follow him, seizing the initiative, could make her at the very least one of the heavenly consorts, if not the empress. It wasn't just Hong Lian, Su Ruyan was also struggling inside at this moment. Although the illusion heart talisman lasted only a moment, it had a significant impact on her psyche. She knew deep down that she was unwilling to die like this, unwilling to accept such a fate. And now, in the hands of Lu Changsheng, she probably couldn't even seek death if she wanted to. If not for the face of her senior, Hong Lian, Lu Changsheng in front of her might have already mistreated her in ways unimaginable. So she too was struggling with whether to obediently submit and become a servant or slave. After all, only by living is there a future. Submitting to Lu Changsheng would not only allow her to survive but also leave this place in the future. She might even gain a heaven-rank demon beast to reclaim justice for her father and become the pride of the family. As for the price, it's just a matter of being humiliated by him, bearing perhaps 10 or 8 children. Such matters, naturally, Su Ruyan found difficult to accept, impossible to accept. Yet she clearly knew that she had no choice in this matter.